7, 6, 7.
Start of the second half again. You know, they've done it again. That is absolutely shit.
Oh my God! I'm gone.
It's 6.
This is a fucking joke. An absolute joke. Gakpo with 2.
Even if they score the first goal, we will still win that game. Liverpool are beyond diabolical.
I can't speak. I'm absolutely... It's 7-0 to the Scousers, man. 7-0 for Firmino. That's in the back of the net, mate. No.
What the fuck?
That's such a shit goal.
Please not 7. No! Please not 7.
Oh my God!
I'm done.
Oh my God! No, it's actually 7.
Anfield hype. Next weekend too. Anfield hype. We coming for you.
I told you Anfield hype. 2-0 up.
United are coming for y'all too, man. Don't worry about that.
I'm gone. I'm finished. No! Oh, for God's sake, no! 7 fucking 0.
Welcome back to the Football Terrace Top 6 show. I hope you're all doing very, very well. Humble pie day for Man United fans. It well and truly is. Take your medicine. Don't go hiding in spaces or with your face covered. Get out there. Take it on the chin like a man or a woman or whatever it is you identify as. But today is a painstaking day indeed. And yes, I'm drinking 7-Up. I'm not going to lie to you. My brothers had this delivered to my house an hour ago. My brother sent me a delivery, a 7-Up to my house. So, bruv, fuck you. That's all I got to say to you. I'm going to introduce you to my panel tonight. We've got a brilliant panel here to go. We've got man like Lewis. He's brought his 7-Up with him as well today on the show. We've got Tom in the house, Tom's getting called out today. Remember, smiling as he is Klopp out on our show today. We've got Kurdish here, famous for his aeroplanes and who has the smallest shells in the world on his wall. Making his debut today is Savva, big Spurs fan. Patrick and George decided to stay in bed this evening. And joining us as well, Stevie Wonder is in the house. Egal is here with the shades on indoors. How are you all doing, gentlemen? How are we all?
I'm doing good. What about everyone else?
Aye, we won. We won a football game. I'm ecstatic, my guys. I hope everybody's good.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm in pain. I'm in real pain. I had a colonoscopy done on Friday. I wish I was back there. I wish I was back there having a camera slowly inserted up my ass. That felt more comfortable than yesterday. And I'm sure I didn't even do a poll for the first talking point today because we know what the first talking point has got to be. And that's cooking Manchester United. Of course, we're going to delve into the game. We're going to look at the aftermath for United, what comes next. I am going to fight back a little bit today as well. Yesterday, I took it all on the chin. Today, I'm coming back. Not the result. There's nothing to fight back there. But it depends on what everybody else says. But where to start? I'll speak to Kurdish first because you didn't come on the show yesterday. 7-0 victors for you. Talk to me, bro. Talk to me.
I think I said we spoke offline yesterday, Terry. I said to you, I've never seen a team forget to play football the way you guys did after that third goal. It was incredible. You crumbled, and the way you're going to have to hold this is, Daniel Cormier in the UFC, he's a great legend. He's great, but every night before he goes to bed, he has to hold it on his chest that John Jones beat him twice, and he hates that. And you guys can tell me about your mentality monsters, your all these things this year and all things. Forever, you're going to have to tell your kids that you held 7 to Liverpool. You held 7 to a midfield of Jordan Henderson and Harvey Elliott. You held 7 to 2 signings that you wanted to sign in Darwin Núñez and Cody Gakpo. You held 7 to a Liverpool that's been the worst Liverpool under Jurgen Klopp since he came in. And you're going to have to hold that the same way Daniel Cormier holds it every night. Whatever you say, Terry, whatever any United fan says, every night before bed, you will be having to remind yourself, Darwin Núñez and Cody Gakpo dunked on you, and Liverpool scored 7 goals past you.
Yeah, listen, we've definitely got to take it. In terms of, listen, I get the banter. I think the difference between the Cormier situation is this isn't career defining for Man United or Ten Hag, because it's a game as opposed to a final. It's not going to, in my opinion, it isn't going to determine the outcome of our season. We've got to take our medicine on the result, I think, as you said. And I think you called it right. This was Man United forgetting to play football more so than being outclassed for the entirety of the game, in my opinion. And I think for me, that's where there's an element of hope. We're not 7-0 worse than you. There was just some play. This just happened to all of our teams, by the way. I was actually looking today, just kind of checking things out when I was on a space. You know, Leicester putting 5 past City a few years ago. Liverpool yourselves losing 7-2 to Aston Villa. I mean, how many times have Arsenal in the last decade conceded 5 or more goals to a top 6 rival? Must have happened. I'm not even capping. It must have happened about 10 times. Like,
no, I think 3. You can't name more than 4.
Man United 8-2. I think City have put 5 or more past you at least 3 or 4 times.
Chelsea 6-0. Wenger's 1,000.
You said the last 5 years.
I said 5 to 10. I said the last 10 years or so.
Okay, in the last 5 years, I can name numerous results where Manchester United have conceded more than 4 or even 6 goals.
Mate, I totally know that. And the point I'm alluding to is I don't think it's like defining of your football club. It's banterous. So I get what Curtis is saying is where I was coming from, my bro.
I would say, because like one thing I got from this game is that my perspective of Manchester United from a mental perspective has gone completely out the window. Because like I have never seen a team give up like that, especially in a game of that magnitude. It was like as soon as the 3rd or 4th goal went in, they were all clueless. Like you got Bruno asking to come off. You got mistakes left, right, and center from all of your best players as well, the likes of Martinez, Varane, Casemiro. Like I get there's off days. There's games where players don't turn up for, and I understand that. But for the magnitude of the game and also to the level that everybody dropped off at, I had a lot of like I looked highly of Man United a lot for this season because they exceeded my expectations under Ten Hag with the players that they've had at their disposal. I thought they needed a lot more time to assimilate into his philosophy, but they did really well this season up until that game. And it's like, well, now I'm starting to think, do United have this sort of thing where the game's done, they kind of just give up? Because we've seen it with Brentford. We've seen it with the City game. Maybe that's a bit more contextual.
Don't forget Brighton.
Context for that because it was earlier in the season. But it's now a couple times this season that it's been happening to you guys.
Don't forget
it has. I think. Sorry, just to respond to that, I get why rivals are going to question the mentality, and you've got every right to. But I can talk, and I mean this genuinely. I'm not worried about the rest of the season because of this. Based on what you just said, and what Egal alluded to yesterday, this has happened a few times this season, and my belief is this: you've kind of what I've sort of noticed from rivals last night was like, ha ha ha. Your team's this, your team's that mentality. It's going to crumble. You're going to fall apart. These were the same people 3 days ago saying, actually, your rebuild going super quick and you're brilliant again because actually you've got a really good squad. So now, again, this is where the banter ruins the argument. Have we got a really good squad or do we actually lack and we're going to collapse now? Both those things can't be true at the same time. I believe that Ten Hag is getting great performances out of a squad that's still got a lot of holes in it. He's only 5 players into his rebuild. And in the summer, a number of these players on the pitch, their positions at this club are still up for tender. You know, Fred as an example, Delo that started the game, David De Gea, Luke Shaw, Weghorst as an example. Half the team in 2 or 3 years isn't going to be here. However, there's 2 things I'm going to say to this. One, I still think we're making top 4, and I still think we're going to come 3rd. So in the grand scheme of our season, this isn't going to put us off track. I think we'll beat Real Betis this week. And I think we'll knock them out of the Europa League. And I don't see Fulham at home knocking us out of the FA Cup either. So between now and the international break, we've got 4 matches. Win them all, and we're in the quarterfinals of the Europa League, semi-finals of the FA Cup, and we'll remain 7 points clear in 3rd place. That's how you respond to this now. So I get where you're coming from, Lewis. Yeah. That's the big test now for United. Do we crumble after this? My view is we won't. The second element is the manager's got to find a way of rotating a bit more. Since the return of the World Cup, Man United have played 21 games. To put it into perspective, since then, Arsenal have played 12 and Chelsea have played 13. We've played almost as many games as Chelsea and Arsenal combined in the last 81 days. So the manager's got to find a way of rotating a little bit more in certain games. He's gone top heavy. It's won us a trophy, so I'm not going to criticize him for that. But the legs are also starting to look tired on certain players. And there's been a feeling amongst a few United fans I listened to that they felt a loss or a bad loss was on the way. They didn't think a 7-0 would happen. That's absolutely unforgivable, undefensible in every single way, or indefensible, I think is the word. But I don't think we're going to fall away from this point. We've played a hell of a lot of games in comparison to everybody else, barring City that have played 18. I'm proud of what the team have done. They've just got to bounce back now. Beat Betis this week, beat Southampton this weekend. And for us as United fans, we'll start to forget it. Rivals will throw it up for years and it will be in comments. But as far as I'm concerned, as long as we qualify for the Champions League and do well in these other cup competitions, it will be forgotten about by United fans in the same way we've forgotten about Spurs doing it to us and we forgot about City doing it to us.
Do you think a result like that can be forgotten, though?
It won't ever be forgotten.
7-0 at home away to Liverpool is like one of your biggest games.
When you say not forgotten,
it's your worst result.
Yeah. Again, I get it. It's their worst result. But the point I'm making is, again, I said this to you again yesterday. You will remember it because you're a man and you're sort of getting annoyed. But Man United fans, when we start winning games again and when we win another trophy, and if we continue to progress, we will forget about it. And the example I give you is how many beatings in the last 2 years have you taken, Egal, as an Arsenal fan?
I don't lose 4-0 on a regular basis.
Egal, how many beatings or embarrassing results have you had in the last 2 to 3 years?
I can only really think of Aston Villa, Liverpool, and Man City. That's it.
Arsenal in the last 2 to 3 years have only had 1 or 2 embarrassing results.
Yeah, but I can name 10 results for Man United right now.
But that isn't the point I'm making. And you know you've had loads of embarrassing results because you hang on, Egal. Let me finish my point. Egal, it's not about being rattled. You're not letting me finish. The difference is this, the point I'm making to you. You've had lots of embarrassing results. I'm not having a dig at Arsenal. I'm making a point about how fans feel about their own clubs, but you're taking it personally. Okay.
Let me speak.
No. You've challenged me. At least let me answer, Egal. Is that fair?
I didn't even finish.
But I wasn't finished and you interjected, so let me finish my point.
Go ahead.
So of course, you as a rival are never going to forget it. The same as Man United will never forget beating you 8-2. I totally understand that, and you're right. But you don't sit there now that you're top of the league and doing well, thinking about the times when you've been embarrassed. When you were calling Arteta out a year and a half ago, you don't think about that now that you're doing well. Liverpool fans, when they were challenging for Champions Leagues on the top of the table, answer me an honest question. Were you thinking about the 6-1 result against Stoke?
No.
So the point is, you will remember it, Egal. But you've got to learn that Man United fans, as long as we don't do what Lewis says, and that's collapse, we're not going to be staying awake thinking about it at night as long as we progress. So as much as you think, Egal, that I'm going to panic and be, today, I've barely thought about it outside of work because football doesn't dominate my life in that way. You may remember it forever because it's funny to you. The irony in it is it's not even your club's result. But Man United fans will forget about it, bruv, because all of our teams have been embarrassed, whether it's a big result like yesterday or whether it's like Liverpool when they lost. How many games was it at home they lost on the bounce and they got beat by the Burnleys and out of this world? Like 6. There comes a point where they move on from that when they're winning again and they're challenging. They weren't thinking about that when they nearly won a quad last year, Egal. Come on, you know this, bruv.
Okay, let me just respond. First of all, Manchester United since COVID times have had these kind of beatings about 10 times. It's a repeated thing. And obviously, a lot of these players are the same players in that club, and you're going to have to get rid of them. Terry, you've mentioned that. Now, let me get on to the actual issue from this result. You have seen your team lose 7-0 to your fiercest rival in a situation where you're comfortable in the top 4, in that third position. You're getting your goal difference up, and now it's dropped down. You have a situation where Liverpool have a better goal difference than you. You have Tottenham still around you. And yes, you could potentially drop off. You need to bounce back. I get that. But this kind of result lingers. It lingers in the players. It lingers in the dressing room. It makes heads roll. It makes people lose their jobs. So yes, it is going to have a catastrophic effect in the dressing room. It could be a positive or a negative. But that's my main point, Terry. You're making it seem like this result will be forgotten from the fans. Yes, it might be an afterthought, but the issues and everything that it causes from this kind of result and this kind of issue, this kind of game will go through with the rest of the season, even if it's a negative or a positive. That's just all I'm stating. You didn't let me get to that point.
But again, I wasn't letting you finish your point because I was responding to Lewis and you interjected and I was trying to make a point and you didn't let me finish. So what you're basically stating is this could be a good or a bad thing for United.
It could be a good or a bad thing, but realistically, it is something you can't remember. It is something you're going to remember for the rest of the season. That is a fact.
But so what do you think it's going to be, a good or a bad response from Man United? Like, because otherwise you win in both ways then if you say good or bad. How do you think it's actually going to go, Egal?
I personally think Liverpool finish above you guys, and I think at this moment in time, you guys let down your team, you let down your performance, and these kind of performances can linger and have a catastrophic effect on the season. And this could be where you start to capitulate.
Wait, so Liverpool are getting third?
Liverpool could easily get third from this position.
Do you know? I would agree, Egal, but I think the only difference is we've seen this United team with this manager be in this situation before. So they have had really awful results that they shouldn't have. And actually Ten Hag has showed the discipline and the principles that are needed to pick themselves back up, even with players dropping Rashford individually. And I think if it's Ollie, I completely hear you. I wouldn't say he's got the backbone to do it, but I think Ten Hag has shown and proved that he can do it. Unfortunately.
I think the difference this time though is the fatigue factor. A result like this at the start of the season is somewhat like it's a blow, but you've got loads of time, you've got loads of energy, you've got loads of games to look forward to build up from it. Now, as you've said, United have played how many games in the past since the World Cup? I think it's like 21 or something. There's not been great rotation. It's starting to add up on the legs, and in a result like this, away your biggest rivals who are on a down season, you're on up season. I think that's the worry, that it can just suck the energy out the legs for the next couple of games where they're just a little bit lethargic and heads go, and maybe they get it back, before the end of the season. Maybe they do recover before the end of the season, but I do think there's real potential for a run of games now where United just look off the boil and other teams are smelling blood and they get some good results against a United team.
And that's fair. And I think that if that happens, then that's when I'll remember this result. So if we get beat by Real Betis on Thursday, we get beat by Southampton at home on Sunday, then I'll start to look at that and think, yeah, there's a problem. What's going to help Man United though? And this is, again, I just think this is not a deflection. We're talking about the run-in. Liverpool look in good form, but this is still the same Liverpool team that didn't beat Palace a week ago and got smashed by Real Madrid. I think Liverpool fans, when they come down from this high, will be thinking, we've got to go and solidify our performances and our defense because they're not exactly flawless. And you've also got Newcastle and Tottenham that are playing awfully right now. So I don't think Man United should be panicking. It isn't as though the three teams behind us are firing on all cylinders, looking amazing, purring, and are frightening. So we've just got to respond well. And you're right, Tom. If our legs go and we fall away from this point, it'll be very disappointing, and I'll criticize the team for that. My question to Egal is: do you think Man United? What would, said to me, so Egal, where do you think Man United will finish?
I just said it. I think you guys are going to finish outside of the top four if Liverpool continue the way they are, and if Tottenham can continue to do what they're doing. Maybe fourth at best. So
what do you mean Tottenham continue to do what they're doing? They've lost. I think they've lost like 4 of their last 8 games.
I just said fourth at best for you guys. I think Liverpool are going to finish above you based on the fact that what I seen from them yesterday. If they can keep it up and just continue to keep the good times rolling and have their players come back, you could potentially see them finish above you because of the goal difference, and they still have a game in hand on you.
They don't have a game on us. It's level on games. We're 7 points clear.
Are you sure?
Can I chip in with a different perspective here? Look, I'm not a Man U fan. I'm not an Arsenal fan, Liverpool fan, all this, but I think everyone in the world's going well too crazy about this one result. At the end of the day, yeah, it's embarrassing. I think that's what it is more than anything. It's embarrassing. But if this defeat had come off the back of United losing 3 or 4 games before this is the sort of defeat that sees a manager get sacked. This is a Man United team that have lost like 2 in 33 games or something, right? Yeah, it's a bad result, but I fully expect Man United to beat Betis, to beat Southampton, and I agree with what Terry was saying, is if that doesn't happen, then you go, wow, look at the effect that defeat has had. But we've seen what Ten Hag has done this year, the situation he's managed with Ronaldo, the situation with, I believe it was Rashford turning up late for training or missing training or whatever that was. We've seen what he's done bouncing back from early season defeats to Brighton and Brentford. And then the first kind of speed bump in the road comes and every other fan enjoys it. Of course they do, right? Every other fan enjoys it, but I think they're enjoying it more than Man U fans are worried about it. And the next 2 wins for Man United, it doesn't mean anything. 7-0 sounds sensational, but in the grand scheme of things, you lost the game. You lost 3 points, right? That's it in the grand scheme of things. However, if United now go on and don't win for 3 or 4 games, then we see what they're made of as a club. But I don't see that happening. And listen, as a Spurs fan, I can tell you this, right? If you're saying if we continue doing what we're doing, we're finishing mid-table. So you've got nothing to worry about if you're Man United from a Spurs perspective.
Yeah, I mean,
what I was saying, Terry.
Sorry, yeah, go on. Yeah, so what were you saying then? Sorry, go on.
What I was saying was, sorry, I was going to ask you actually, where do you think you're going to finish? Because when it comes to me, I honestly do believe you could drop off and maybe at best finish fourth. But
so you asked me another question. You said you also said, would it be embarrassing? So what are you?
Would it be embarrassing if you finish behind Liverpool from this position?
Not if we finish behind Liverpool from this position, but if we fall outside the top 4, then I'd be embarrassed.
Okay, fair enough.
So I would be, and I'd criticize it, and then you hold it and you take the criticism. But I still think Man United will come third. So that's why I'm saying to you, if we still end up in, and I didn't think, I said we might come second this year, and that was based on if one of you or City fell off out the title race, you may just sort of, when Spurs fell out the title race and they kind of dwindled towards the end and ended up finishing behind Arsenal. I thought there was a chance of maybe that happening. After yesterday's result, maybe not. I still think United will get third, and I still think we've got a good possibility of winning another trophy. And if that happens, as much as this will live on forever and people will still banter us over it, as a Man United fan, I know that's why I brought up your clubs, because you've all had embarrassing results. And some of them are big scores, and some of them are smaller scores, but to lower level teams that have beaten you. You don't think about it when you move on. You get the banter every now and then, but United fans will learn to go, great, well done, dead banter now. It's been done. It just happens. It's as simple as that. It happens
too regularly with Man United, though. That's what my main point was earlier.
Yeah, but to you're saying that it has happened to us on a number of occasions, especially under Ollie. We took a good couple of beatings, especially to Liverpool. What they've done to us at Anfield in recent years is something that I want the club to address, and I want us to get better so that we're able to go there and not be so regularly embarrassed. Because whether we lost 3-0 or 7-0, they all embarrass me. They genuinely do. Yesterday's scoreline wasn't what embarrassed me. The lack of effort from my players annoyed me far more than the goals. They really did. And that's just me speaking honestly. And if you don't want to believe that, don't believe it. It really, again, I will finish this stream and I will quite literally just get on with my life. It's not going to bother me whether people believe me or not. 307,000 people subscribe to me. So I'm pretty sure they like what I say. So I know there's a lot of people that trust it. But this is about the response, and a lot of people have come for us, and I get Liverpool fans, and every Liverpool fan bantering Man United. I've got nothing to say to you other than congratulations. You deserve to banter us. You were the better team. City fans as well, get it. Local rivals, you're above us. Arsenal fans, I get, and I know the motivation for Arsenal fans. It's what Egal's doing today. It's more what you hope happens as opposed to maybe what you totally believe, because Arsenal fans are desperate to win our rebuild was better competition, and we know that's what's going on.
No one cares about that, Terry. You win the league, you care.
Yeah, well, you say that, but whenever a Man United fan tweets or says, I'm really happy with the build, the timeline is filled with Arsenal fans going, ours was better for these reasons. So that would tell me there's a lot of
Terry, I'll say what I see.
That would tell me a lot of Arsenal fans care. You may not, but I'm just talking in generalities here. I know what I see in terms of responses to me. So I get why those three teams banter. But what I did find really interesting this weekend was Spurs fans giving me shit. I was like, bruv, your manager's about to be sacked and you're bantering other clubs. It made me chuckle a little bit. But again, I kind of got what Patrick and that were doing in the group chat. It was like, if we join in with the Arsenal and the Chelsea, the Arsenal and the Liverpool and City fans laughing at United, maybe nobody will notice how bad we are. I think that's almost like camouflage. You know what I mean? Man's rolling around like a chameleon thinking that no one's going to do it. So yeah, look, I can take the banter. I've done 3 streams today, streamed twice yesterday after the game. It is what it is, but I'm not worried about the direction my football club is going in. We have got a world-class manager. We're well ahead of where everybody expected us to be. We've won a trophy already this year. We're sitting 3rd in the league. We're 7 points clear of Liverpool in 5th. We have a game in hand over Tottenham that are just behind us. We have 4 very winnable games before the international break. My demand now is go and win those games. And what I really want to see is Erik ten Hag. And this is my kind of next point I want to move on to. What do you guys think Erik ten Hag is going to do? Because for me, there's got to be some heads that roll here. Fergie did something very famous to Jim Leighton. None of you have heard of Jim Leighton, have you?
Wasn't he the keeper?
I said that earlier.
Sorry?
The keeper, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I just said that heads will roll earlier.
Yeah, and you're right. But then heads roll for a good. I don't know what you're smirking at, Egal. What's the smirk for?
No, because you always do this. When you agree with me, you completely dismiss it as if everything I was saying earlier was absolute bullshit.
No, that's not what I did at all, Egal. Earlier, I was trying to finish a point. You're interjecting. When did I say that head with roll would be bullshit? When did I say that?
You didn't say that. I was just making a point.
But why are you making a point about something I didn't do?
You know what? Let's just move on. Forget it.
But that's a weird thing to do, Egal. I didn't say you said it was bullshit, and then you used to call me out for it.
Let's just move on. Forget
it. Yeah, who's that Jim Leighton guy? I've never heard of him.
Oh, he was like, wasn't he like a keeper that Fergie had at Aberdeen? He brought him to United.
Yeah. Aberdeen goalkeeper brought him to Man United, and he made a massive error in a cup final for the club, for Man United. And we went to a replay. We won the replay, but he dropped the goalie. He never played for us again. And there might be some players that have to play again for us, but I have a feeling there'll be a player or two, and I don't know. I honestly don't know which. Luke Shaw could be an individual. Fred could be an individual. Bruno could be an individual.
I think it'd be Bruno.
Who the manager turns around and reprimands massively and essentially says, if I ever see anything of the sort again. And I don't think it's the waving of the arms and the moaning and the diving. Bruno does that, win, lose, or draw. We can be 3-0 up and Bruno will do that. That's just his character. It was the lack of effort. That's what I'm more angry about. The irony is the scoreline I can take. I'm sitting here with a 7-up. That doesn't bother me. The performance of my players is more of a worry, but I trust my manager, and I trust my manager to fix this situation quickly. And there'll be some heads that roll, and some players will move on in the future. There's no doubt.
Bruno
about
was embarrassing yesterday. Can I
it
just
was.
Say, like Bruno Fernandes. The thing is, watching that game, some United players you could just they were trying at times. It was just either their legs had gone or simply the game was passing them by. Because I thought, as bad as United were, I thought we were really, really good second half. I saw a lot of positives that I can take on to the rest of the season about going back to the way we played. But Fernandes, I think Fred, Shaw, Dalot, and De Gea, they're the five I'm sitting there going, no, there was just no effort. Especially Luke Shaw.
Anthony too.
I just think Anthony's a bit crap. I don't think there's much. I just think he's a bit crap. But like Shaw, especially, like Salah, he was at fault for about 4 or 5 of the goals. Salah was just having him every time. Martinez was ending up getting dragged over and being done over because Luke Shaw wasn't there. But Fernandes was the worst one. And it was. I'm not gonna go on about when he demanded to get subbed off because I don't think he did. The one I'm gonna go for was the 80th minute and Bajcetic had the ball. He won the ball back and he gets it right by the touchline. And Bruno Fernandes goes and puts in a tackle that Bajcetic flicks it past him on. And then Bruno Fernandes just stops and watches Bajcetic run forward another 10 yards under no pressure before putting it across. And Fernandes has just stood there on the sideline, hands on hips, watching it all unfold. Like, I think it's worse because he's the captain. He was the captain on the day. You're supposed to lead by example. And the example he set yesterday was horrific for what United should expect. There was no sort of... That game should have never ended 7-0. There should have been damage limitation. It shouldn't have to be on the other team to stop scoring for United to stop limiting these defeats.
I agree completely. For me, I preferred what McTominay did by putting one on one of you. Now, I don't want to lose a player for 3 games, but I would have rather Bruno Fernandes went 2-footed through one of your players and sent you 6 foot in the air than not put any effort in. I'm not saying I want him to hurt you, but as a football fan, I'd rather you take out your frustration on your opponent physically than take out your frustration by shouting at everybody else, but whilst you're not running. The one thing that I've always loved about Bruno is he will shout at his players, but he'll put the effort in. But the fact that he was shouting at everybody, but then standing still himself, for me, you're absolutely right. It was embarrassing. That's what I found embarrassing. The diving. The reason I don't go at my players for diving is that no one else has a go at their players for diving. So I stopped doing that years ago. I used to call it. I got into a fight outside Old Trafford because someone saw a video of mine where I called for Rooney to be banned for diving. And no other fan bases joined in with me for trying to stop diving in football. So I thought, fuck it, I'm not going to care about that anymore either. But from my point of view, you're absolutely right. It's from my point of view, it was embarrassing. There's no defense of it. And that's why what I'm hoping Ten Hag has done today is I hope he sat him down and made him watch the whole video. And I hope that he stopped it every single time a mistake was made. And that person is essentially has a dunce hat on and has to stand up and is made to be embarrassed because you need to get a response from this. It absolutely has to happen. And yeah, he was embarrassing. Luke Shaw, listen, I know how good Salah is. I think yesterday he crowned himself as Liverpool's greatest ever player in the Premier League era without a shadow of a doubt with what he did to your biggest rivals, his goal scoring record taking over the foulers of this world. But what he did to Luke Shaw yesterday, I think it's illegal in about 62 different countries around the world.
His record against United in the past, I think it's 4 years, is ridiculous. I think the aggregate's like 17-2 in the past 4 games against us. Mo Salah's been directly involved in 14 of those 17 goals, either scoring or assisting.
Wow.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy what he does to us. And I do feel like, especially at Anfield, there is a mental block when we play Liverpool. It's almost we go there. And you know how, and you know, Egal will get this, you get what I mean, how you are when you've played City a lot of times in recent years. Spurs have got it a lot when they played Chelsea up until this game recently. You know, certain teams that you play, doesn't matter where, especially when you're away from home, you just cannot seem to get a result. Even when Liverpool were bad and Burnley's were beating them, we only drew 0-0. We still couldn't beat them there. There's a definite mental block. And that's something you forget about for now, as in the squad will be told to forget about that element. You'd have to work on that next season and go there and get a result and try and turn that around. But yeah, the role, as you say. Sorry,
Ten Hag. Every substitution he made, the game didn't actually get any better. On that situation, when the game was getting tough, he could have probably tried to do something to maybe keep the score down. I don't know what his tactics was, what he was doing, but he got it wrong from the beginning. And as the game progressed, every single time he brought in a substitution, it just seemed like the game got worse and they scored another goal immediately after.
He was like, really naive. He was really naive. So, and what you mentioned about tactics there, Egal, I watched some tactical analysis videos and I went back and watched bits of the game. In second half, for some reason, he goes man for man with Liverpool, which then means Liverpool always have one extra player free. Now, after that third goal, they lose all their duels. Every duel, one-on-one, they lose. But instead of actually changing tactics or changing formation, he decides to stay on one-to-one defending throughout the whole pitch. And he presses the line up. And actually, that just leaves Liverpool more chance because you saw it in the second half. Every time they managed to win that first duel, there was so much space in the middle of the park. I've not seen Liverpool have that much space in the middle of the park all season. Yeah. And I think he was naive.
I think, listen,
when you look at the players that ended up doing well for us yesterday, like some of the players that ended up having really good games for us or having really good moments, to say, they've been awful all season. And it, like, the fact that it was against, like, Curtis Jones, tackled Casemiro for our 7th. Curtis Jones, I can't believe he got on the pitch for one, but he started the 7th. Harvey Elliott, I think, had the most passes and the most tackles out of anyone on the pitch, and he's a 19-year-old winger in centre mid. Jordan Henderson got his first assist off a cross in about a year and a half. You know, it really just was a big turn off.
Totally agree. I think with Ten Hag, his biggest mistake was at half time. He should have brought AWB onto the pitch for Delo. AWB's been great recently, and he should have taken Anthony off. As I think we needed Weghorst on for certain reasons, but Anthony off, put Bruno back onto the right, and put Rashford out to the left-hand side. That's what he needed to do. In terms of his tactical approach, going man for man, listening to what Ten Hag has said since, and I trust him, he has said in 3 different interviews, the players are just not doing what they were told to do. So whatever the tactical analysis people are watching, that wasn't what Ten Hag was asking for. It reminded me of Ollie's football, where we would press when we shouldn't and leave a hole in behind us. It was just a complete catastrophe. There was no shape. And one of the things that's been so prominent in Ten Hag's teams this season has been a great shape, hard to break down, hard to beat. Casemiro in the middle with Varane and Lissandro behind him hadn't conceded a goal in open play all season because the shape had been good. So I love where Egal starts to think if he can remember one. I'm just going by the stat that Opta put out before the game yesterday. And I wish Opta, I really do wish the Opta in the Premier League, that is. So I think for me, everything that could have gone wrong yesterday went wrong yesterday. And I just think from my standpoint, you know, just got to take your medicine on it. I'm going to respond the same way. And that's, I believe in this manager. They'll get it right in the next game. We'll beat Real Betis. We'll beat Southampton, in my opinion. And you lot won't forget about it. It'll still come up on games. There's no doubt about it. But from my point of view, we can put it to bed and we can move on. I just wish we had a game tomorrow. I wish I just didn't have to wait till Thursday. I just want the game to come and happen quickly. But from my standpoint, I still think we'll get top 4. We've got a good chance of winning another trophy. And I still think by the end of the season, it will be a successful season. We're well ahead of where anybody predicted us being. And I have faith in this manager. And there's still like the big positive that the club looks like it's going to be sold. The Qataris are moving forward, face-to-face meetings this week. All those things are positives. And I'm just imploring United fans to, because I do blame some Man United fans for what happened yesterday. Because you all know my long-standing belief that when fan bases get too confident and cocky, it seeps into a dressing room. I think fans are the ones that should be keeping dressing rooms honest as opposed to gassing them too much. And I saw more stuff today than I saw in the build-up to the game. The amount of United fans that were saying we're going to go there and smash them. Honestly, for me, it's mad. The history of the fixture, we've never done it. We've played really well against them once, and we only won 2-1. Anyone who thought we were going there and smashing them, that's the equivalent of Spurs fans saying we're going to the Emirates and we're going to smash them. It doesn't happen. Like, that's not even a dig. I'm just trying to put that into perspective. It was an absolute nonsense to suggest that. And for me, I think some of the fans, and I do think that the Man United dressing room got a little bit overconfident going into this game and maybe, just maybe thought we've got this. And I just don't like that approach to sport. I think that's how Arsenal beat Chelsea in the 2017 Cup final. I think it's how Switzerland knocked France out of the Euros as an example. And you can always find it where you go, this will be I actually think Arsenal fans and Arsenal went into the Bournemouth game thinking 3 points easy, no problem, and got caught cold. When you go in a little bit overconfident, you can get the difference was we weren't playing Bournemouth at home. We were playing Liverpool at Anfield. And I just implore Man United fans to stick by the manager, stick by the team, but slow down the quad talk. It was crazy. Slow down we're going to win 3 trophies. Just we're doing well, we're progressing well. You can big your team up without being over cocky. I don't quite know. People say I'm tribal. I back my team. But backing your team doesn't mean making outrageous, almost near impossible predictions. It's ridiculous because that will get into your dressing room. The players know what we all say online. We know that. Declan Rice proved it the other day. They know what we're saying. So slow it down. Keep them honest. Put pressure on them instead of telling them they're all brilliant, they're all beautiful, and polishing their heads, because we got humbled and annihilated yesterday. And I think overconfidence also played a really, really big part in it. I really do.
And just on that, Terry, just something you said, because your fans have been going on like your centre-backs have been the best thing since sliced bread, and Maldini and Van Dijk together with one is Martinez. I'd like just to confirm Liverpool's worst season this year. If before the game against you guys, we had conceded the same amount of goals. You'd conceded 28 in the Premier League, and that's what we had conceded too. So it goes about to your fan base. Respectfully, you guys just need to relax a little bit, because you're making out that your defense is this and this. You've been conceding the same amount of goals as Joe Gomez, as my brother Hussam says, as Ice Spice and Bambi on ice. That's what you've been doing.
I do get that, but again, a lot of the goals conceded by the club were not when those two were playing together in a partnership. That's what they've been. When those guys have played, it's been so. Again, just if we're being fair, like
but they held 7. They held 7, Terry.
They held 7.
They did. But if you suddenly signed the new centre, if you were conceding loads of goals up until January and you signed a new centre back and then you stopped conceding goals, you'd praise that new centre back, right? That new centre back wouldn't be accountable for goals conceded when he wasn't playing, would he?
But you've had them to play in most of the season, 28 games.
Yeah, but the point people are making is they were praising the good things that they've done. So I get it, but they've got to hold it today. They have been a great partnership up until yesterday. There's no doubt about that. They've been a great partnership up until yesterday. We'd lost one game in 22 matches up until that point. So I think United fans praising that is fine. But I think making crazy predictions like we're going to win the quad, we're going to smash Liverpool at Anfield, that for me is where I think you have to slow down a little bit. So you can big your team up for things you're doing, like praising Rashford's goal scoring form. Like it's saying you can't praise Rashford's goal scoring form because he might not score in one game is crazy. Like you praise the good things they're doing, but it doesn't mean you say Rashford's going to score in every game for the rest of his career. That would be that's what I equate going to Anfield and smashing them is, I think it's a mad thing.
You know what though? I love the storylines we got from yesterday. All the storylines that we as Liverpool fans were able to take. Cody Gakpo, the man who United fans were pushing 007 for, ends up being one of the key factors behind United's very own 007 on the night. 0 goals, 0 assists, 7 conceded. We all love to see that. Darwin Núñez, United wanted him. Rangnick wanted him. Rangnick said, he's going to be a really good striker. United passed on him For Anthony, he ends up getting
Also,
2.
the stories that came out yesterday were crazy. You know, and for me, again, the United fans don't want to hold it. The 2 players that rejected us, one in the summer, one in January, do that to us. You can't write it. You know, you can't write it. It is what it is. And as I say,
every single one of them had a moment against every single United player as well. It weren't like we just specifically targeted Shaw and the others were all right. It was just Shaw bringing them down. You know, Martinez got dropped for the first goal. Rafael Varane gets absolutely done by a fantastic touch by Cody Gakpo. I think the only one who got away with a bit was Diogo Dalot, because Luke Shaw was that bad that we just decided to keep going through Salah. I mean, you even got Bobby Firmino. The week he's announced he's leaving the football club, he even gave him a goal and an assist, just to give him the storylines and everything. So I appreciate that. You know, it's given us a lot more confidence now within the fan base, within the team, that we're starting to see the right thing. I wanted consistency. That's the one thing we've lacked this season: consistency. We've been able to pull out 2 to 3 games of good results, and then it goes straight back down. And this was the moment, especially after Madrid. You know, we had a couple of good wins in the league. We're building up some good form, but this was the moment where I needed to see it carry on. And that makes it, I think it's 5 clean sheets in a row, which is big for us as well defensively.
I'm going to go to some super chats, but a big question for you. Are you still Klopp out then, Tom?
In terms of what?
Because you said you want him sacked, so are you still Klopp out?
I said at the end of the season, I'll make my decision. And I've never said I want them gone mid-season. That's the one thing you can never take me on. I never said I want them gone mid-season. And guess what? My point of view still hasn't changed, because my issue hasn't been, oh, Jurgen Klopp's football's crap, Jurgen Klopp's this, Jurgen Klopp's that. It's been, when we go into a rebuild, do I trust him to fully oversee this rebuild? And my point of view still hasn't changed on that. I'm going to need to see it happen.
He wants the Portuguese Brendan Rodgers, Terry. That's who he wants.
Ruben Amorim's a good manager, mate. Ruben Amorim's a good manager.
We'll come back to this in a minute, because I need to go to the super chats, because there's 38 of them. And it's going to take us a while to get through subjects. Yeah, this here says, great to see Savva showing up, a top Spurs fan that you don't mind listening to. Are George and SpongeBob sidekick still hiding? Big up, come on, you gooners, is what Akil said. I don't know where they are, to be fair, because I don't arrange the panel. KJ does. Listen to you lot, still 7 points ahead. We move is what King. I don't know how do you pronounce GYG? Is that Kig? As in,
yeah, KY. I don't know.
I'm just sometimes. Yeah, I'm just. There we go. Tom and all Liverpool fans, next season we will have new owners, and you will be with FSG. Enjoy your time. Something MUFC bounce back is more important now.
We had the plane out, mate, yesterday. We had the plane out. FSG quaking.
Yeah. Listen, but this is the thing. I didn't do any of those kind of responses yesterday. Like, because one of the worst, another response that Elon Musk should ban people for doing is that Warra trophy when people celebrate a win. It actually, it kills my brain cells reading it when someone says, yeah, we won 7-0, Warra trophy. It's like Elon Musk should instantly ban you and your IP address from Twitter. It's so bad banter. But that's what the FSG thing's true. Liverpool fans know when they calm down from this result about shit, FSG is staying. They know there's problems at their club, but you've got to let them have their celebrations and not police it for me. Nice excuse, mate. Talking about fatigue as if you've played in multiple finals for years. Historic, humbling. This will live on further than all of us. Not again. Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. In terms of Man United fans thinking about it, depends on how we go. And to suggest that Man United players can't get fatigue is because we weren't in a final last season. That's a bit strange to me. But thank you very much for the super chat. This here says, didn't we beat Arsenal 8-2 in the past? Why is he harping on? We all have gotten battered and moved on, is what Tony says to you, Egal.
You got 4 batterings this season.
4
batterings this season. Brentford, Man City, Liverpool, and Brighton.
So Brentford, City.
Brighton? Wasn't that 2-0?
Brighton 4-0.
That was last season.
That was last season.
Okay, maybe I was mistaken.
Egal. Why is Arsenal even brought into this discussion? This is so annoying. Well, the reason that Arsenal get brought up is because I'm trying to use examples of when you say you'll remember this forever. I'm asking you if you remember your beatings. I think it's a very fair question to ask back, to be honest with you. Today's broadcast proudly brought to us by 7-Up is what Red Wolf said. I like it. It's a week of banter, then everyone moves on. Yeah, I think it's a week. Yeah, generally it's up until you play again. And if you, I mean, we lose to Real Betis, then it's going to continue, no doubt, George. Not to put Rashford on Trent is criminal negligence, and Erik ten Hag just stood there and watched the massacre whilst Anthony just walked around. Madness is what Martin says. Deborah here says Messi forever. After I was convinced to dump my team to support. I supported for 15 years Liverpool for Man United. This happens. It's your fault, Deborah. She stopped supporting Liverpool for Man United. This happens. Oh my God, United are so bad. I apologize to Liverpool, and many people should. Tom L wearing a Real Madrid shirt says it all. You ain't Liverpool is what Liverpool.
Well, am I not allowed to wear? Am I not allowed to wear a Real Madrid shirt from what is it?
Spin
12
around,
years
Tom.
ago,
Spin
which
around,
has
Tom. Shut
which
down.
has Xabi Alonso on the back. It's got Alonso on the back, and also it's mind games. My shirt look this year's been horrific. Every time I've wore a Liverpool shirt, we've lost. So reverse engineer it.
This here says United finished second or third. Ten Hag is different, is what Akil's an Arsenal fan saying that, by the way. That's not a United fan. I want to point that out to everybody. That's an Arsenal fan saying it. Look at Newcastle's schedule. Easy, 2 games in hand, is what they've said. Yeah, but they've barely won a game in like 2 months. So listen, Newcastle for me will fade. I didn't think they'd make it anyway. Spurs aren't winning games. I think Liverpool are going to come fourth. Liverpool could catch Man United. It isn't beyond the realms of possibility, no doubt. But I do think Man United will make top 4. We are going to move on to Spurs very soon. The only thing that is a bit annoying is we are getting a bit of form. But after Real Madrid, we play on April 1st. I really hope we continue this trajectory, is what Honesty has got to say here. This win was the rivals' pride mainly. 17-2 is what Omar says. Yeah, that's beyond rival pride, to be fair. It's ridiculous. A loss is a loss. At the end of the day, won't matter as long as we win our upcoming games. Trophies matter more to me than a single game, is what Cameron says. I agree, Cameron. Liverpool's next 4, and I have to, otherwise it's going to eat me up. Liverpool's next 4 games: Bournemouth, City, Chelsea, Arsenal, Newcastle, and Brighton have games in hand. I suppose that's it for you guys at Liverpool, isn't it? Like, you've got Bournemouth, which you should win, but then City, Chelsea, Arsenal. I mean, if you don't take this result and like win 2 or 3 of those games, as in, if you've got to win, in my opinion, to catch Man United, you've probably got to win 2 of those 3 games against top 6 sides there.
I think City's away, which is always a tough one, especially since they now believe they've got a shot at the title. Chelsea away, God knows. I genuinely couldn't tell you about Chelsea. Like, are you going to score a goal from your attackers? I don't know. And Arsenal at home, that's the one which I mind up. Like, maybe with the crowd again, we can pull something off. But City's the one I'm the least confident for because it's away from home and they're chasing something which they believe they can get now. But we have to get at least 9 out of the next 12 to stand a chance because I've got to be honest, Brighton are the ones which scare me more than Newcastle. Brighton, I think, have 3 games in hand on Tottenham. They're 6 or 7 points off. Brighton can easily work their way up there, and they're playing with so much confidence at the minute. And the way we don't play them again. Our record against them this year was awful. We drew 1-3-3 and lost 3-0. So we don't have the advantage of playing them later on down the line to claw that advantage back. So Brighton are the one I'm worried about.
It's going to be interesting, the top 4 race now. It really, really is. The last sort of 4 wins for Liverpool have really thrown the cat amongst the pigeons. Peter here is a gooner. Says, I just think it's how you react that shows how bad this game really was. You can either drop off or use it as motivation and go on a run. I think you're right, and that's how I would judge it. Like, it hurt. The result in itself hurts me. I'm a United fan. It was painful to watch. It really was. But I felt more yesterday how I did when City beat us 6-1. I was angry after that game, but Fergie was our manager. We were winning things, and I was positive, and it was a case of, right, let's get to the next game and win. When I was losing like this under Ollie, I didn't really believe we were going on to another level. So the pain felt different, and that's all I can explain about how I feel today. It's painful, but the response is key. Erik ten Hag is not world class yet, hasn't done anything other than win league titles. He's done nothing. Stop deflecting to other teams. Terry, triggered. It's not deflecting to other. Do you think it's deflecting to other teams, Egal? Because I'm triggered.
Terry, that's what fans do. It is what it is.
But you agree with the comment. So is that what you think I'm doing?
Yes, you are. you've mentioned Arsenal, you've mentioned Tottenham, you've mentioned many other clubs throughout the stream. That is a fact.
So you don't think I can draw examples from other clubs and telling you how I feel to try and prove it? You don't think?
No, but people can still view that as deflecting.
No, so I'm asking you, like, so I say I feel a certain way. You say, really, how come? And I say, well, you've experienced X, and how do you feel? As trying to draw a similarity between our feelings. That's why I had to bring your clubs up. Do you not think that's a fair thing to do?
I think you are deflecting, Terry, because you've mentioned so many other poor results from other teams to deflect off your poor result yesterday.
Yes, to prove the point that to you when you said I will never be able to forget about this. So do you not think it's fair for me to ask you opinion that if you've forgotten about results? Do you not think that's fair?
I'll never forget about it because rivals will bring it up. Hence, you'll never forget about it because we'll bring it up.
Cool. Okay. So you haven't got over the 8-2 defeat then?
You always bring it up. What are we going to do?
No, that isn't my question. So are you not over it?
We're going to have to hold that, just like you're going to have to hold us.
So you're not over it. It's weird to not be over a result from a decade ago, but fair enough.
So you're not over the 6-0, right?
You're not over the 6.
Listen, it's not about me right now. It's about Terry deflecting, and he has to hold it.
But I am holding it. I've literally accepted the defeat.
You are deflecting, Terry, and that's just a fact. If you would have just said, yes, I am deflecting, as anyone else would do.
But I'm not deflecting. I'm Egal. Hold your L here, bro. I'm not.
You hold it. You lost 7-0. Hold it.
I know I lost 7-0. And to say I'm not holding my 7-0 defeat when I've memed my own club and sitting here holding this is crazy. You're just getting frustrated, Egal, because I'm not feeling how you want me to feel. Relax.
God,
bro.
I hope City win the league. Oh God, they're unbearable.
Oh yeah, me too. Please.
Oh good. I think everyone's a Man City fan now, aren't they?
If Arsenal win the league, all you guys are gonna have it.
If Arsenal win the league, you won't be able to contact me, so it's all good. I won't even be in this country.
7-0 loss can be a complete catastrophe for Erik Ten Hag, not because he lost, but because of the manner of the loss. Your players gave up. Can Ten Hag trust them? Come on, you gooners. That's a great question, Roman, and we'll see what happens there, my friend. Thank you, KV, for the super chat, but no words, but thank you. Arsenal fan, I believe Arsenal, City, United, and Newcastle will make the top 4. I said it in August on your chat, and everybody laughed. Well, fair play to you, GU. That looks like it could be a very, very good prediction. For Man United to reach that next level, get rid of Fernandes and bring in, how do you pronounce that name?
Is it like
Soboslai? I always get it wrong.
Yeah, I'm just to Arsenal. He's at Leipzig, RB Leipzig, I think.
Oh, okay, cool. It's embarrassing result, but the overreaction to one defeat that we are going to finish outside the top 4 is ridiculous. Also, why are Chelsea fans at a cookout?
Hey, I haven't said anything. I know my place, all right?
Hang on a minute, Joshua, don't mention other clubs. The Egal will think you're deflecting, bro. Please don't do it.
Terry, what's the time, mate? What's the time?
It's fuck your mum.
I got him.
Yes.
And that's me telling you to go do your mum is deflecting. Sorry. Martinez dancing thriller criminal is what Gemini's got to say here.
That was bad.
Terry,
he got sent looking the wrong way. That was so bad.
Oh, mate, he got ruined yesterday. He got absolutely ruined, and it is what it is. Terry, if the score was reversed, you'd be telling Tom and Kurdish they have been scarred, etc. You cannot downplay yesterday. But this is it. If it was other, of course I would put it on my rivals. But at the same time, their response, if Tom says to me, but this is how I feel, I trust Tom enough to go, I trust you, bro. Like, it is what it is. Like, you can't tell me how I feel. I know how I feel. I've been so open and honest about how humbled and how embarrassing and unprofessional and what I expect from the club. To act like I haven't held the L is very weird. Like, to act like I haven't accepted the defeat is a weird notion for me. Salah has more yellow cards for taking his shirt off than Man United have goals at Anfield during his time. Yeah, that's crazy, bruv. It's crazy. The only team that batter Arsenal are City, Liverpool and City. United have been battered by Brighton, Brentford, Spurs, and Watford recently. Different. You listen, the ones against Watford and Brentford actually hurt me more. They hurt me far more. And I stand by that. They embarrassed me far more because of the size of the club, the situation we were in. Yeah, for whatever reason, just go back and watch my match reactions to those games compared to yesterday, and you'll see it. Last away day in the league is to Liverpool 4-0. Last away day to City 5-0. Come back in May and see who slipped up. Let's see what Liverpool do to Arsenal, and then they come round. Is what David Ferreira has got to say here. My name is Haag710 Haag. Thank you, 7 Haag. Sorry. This here from True Gunner says, I didn't realize this was an endoscopy unit at Anfield until I see United get absolutely penetrated at the back. Still in the title race, though. Again, I don't know. Man United fans saying we're in the title race. I was cringing. It was like, stop doing it, because you're only going to look stupid in the end. That's not the United we beat 3-2. Liverpool is a one-off. Come on, you gooners, is what Steve says. I'm actually not convinced on Erik ten Hag. This is Harold, who's an Arsenal fan, I believe. Something is missing. I don't think he is the one to take. Oh, sorry, he's a United fan. I thought Harold, he always comments on League Gun and stuff. I thought you were a United fan, Arsenal fan. I apologize. Oh no, that's a different guy from Norway. I apologize. Sorry, Harold. I think his name is similar to yours. I don't think he is the one to take us back, but we will get back next game despite Erik ten Hag. Yeah, I can't endorse that message. I think Ten Hag's brilliant, personally. I think he's going to do wonders at the club. All I hope is if Qatar takes over, be scared rivals.
You don't need Nanaboni. You've got one already. I thought you quite liked your current one. Mo Salah's a pretty good owner.
Standard of the fan base is on the floor. 7 against Liverpool. Need a massive cleaning this summer. Erik ten Hag is not safe either. I mean, again, that's where I just think it's an overreaction. And by the way, I think that's what rival fans want to hear. They want to hear, oh, the manager's got to turn it around or sack him. You're not going to get that from me. United fans always do this, overhype players and manage until you start losing. Anthony is overprotected by the fan base. Looks like another Sancho. I mean, fan bases are going to overprotect their players. I mean, that's literally what you're kind of there to do. You're going to protect your players, and rivals' job is to kind of go at them. To say he's another Sancho, I'm not going to say that yet. I'm going to give him a little bit of time to settle. I said that already, that I wouldn't judge him fully year one. Yesterday was a terrible performance from him. Again, he didn't do the things he normally does well yesterday. His work in the defensive shape has been brilliant this season. Today, not so much. Yesterday, sorry, not so much. Terry, Erik ten Hag is also arrogant before the game, all guilty. You'd have to, I don't know if he was. I think, again, he doesn't strike me as guilt. If you've got a clip that I haven't seen where he was, then let me know and I'll take a look. Carl here says
translation in the interview. He basically dismissed the atmosphere at Anfield because he's never played there.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. Boys are coming for Arsenal. This is from Carl. He says, want to ruin the season. Rather see City win the league. Tired of these Arsenal friends of mine talking way spicy. Finish 4th. I think he means for Liverpool at the end there. This happens. I remember 6-1 under Fergie and 8-2 against Arsenal. We have to hold 7, but you're held 7 against West Ham. It happens. Glazers out. Ten Hag will fix this. Cheers, bro. We'll speak to you again soon.
Take
Cheers,
care,
mate.
everybody.
Take
Have
care,
a good
brother.
day.
Thank you. David stepping in for us now. Thank you for that super chat. Will Liverpool come back at the Bernabeu?
No.
I let them answer that.
Can I believe? I'll just believe. I believe we can.
Yeah, you may be able to. This here says Darwin have scored against Arsenal, City, and Man United. Yes, big games he scored in.
Big game player. Big game.
He has been. KV, Man United equals S Club 7. That's pretty good. I like that. That's a good one, KV. 8-2 made us sign Arteta. Thank you, United, is what Martin says there. That's true. But Egal's still not over it. It's mad, Egal. You need to pounce on him for that, bro. He's over it. He's just saying it to try and win his point on the show. But I don't know if it works. But there we go. Viewers, make sure like buttons are being smashed, by the way, and that you're subscribing to the Football Terrace. Very, very important to us that you get that done. Moving slightly on from Man United, we are going to talk Arsenal on the show as well. But Conte is facing the sack. That was breaking news yesterday morning, Savva, that from Sammy McBell at the Daily Mail, that Spurs are looking at options and he may not see out the rest of the season. What's going on at Tottenham? Because as much as United take the headlines this weekend, you lost a game to Wolves. Poor run of form recently. Like, talk to us, bro.
I can only but hope that Antonio Conte is given the sack. He won't be. I can't see that there's any point with 12 games of the season to go. His contract's up anyway. So we're not talking about a guy that's got 3 or 4 years left. He's got 12 games left, depending on what happens with Milan on Wednesday night. Look, just the complete wrong appointment, guys. The complete wrong appointment for Tottenham Hotspur. We did it with Jose. We've done it with Conte. We're bringing in managers to appease a fan base. But we're bringing in managers that are win right now at all cost managers, get you over the line managers, where our team isn't ready for getting over the line. So you'll hear lots of Spurs fans say, oh, he's a winner. Okay, great, he's a winner, but he's not a winner at Tottenham Hotspur. He's a winner with big clubs that go and buy big players. He's not used to having Erik Dyer, Davinson Sanchez. Do you know what I mean? He's not, we've got a 33-year-old Perisic and players like Ollie Skip. He's not used to this, and we're seeing that. Listen, I'm not saying he's not a good manager, but just not at Tottenham Hotspur. He, if anything, guys, should have been brought in remember when Spurs finished second under Pochettino and we couldn't quite get over the line? That, for me, is the year you bring in a Conte and you say, right, there you go. There's the nucleus of a team that's really good. Go and get them over the line. But bringing this guy in for what is technically a project to build for 3, 4, 5 years, it was never going to work. And the last thing I'll say on it, Terry, is for all these Spurs fans that back Conte, right? His run of form at the moment is worse than AVB's last 10 games, right? Is on par with Nuno Santos's last 10 games. Is worse than Jose's last 10 games, right? Is worse than Tim Sherwood's last 10 games, right? But because his name is Antonio Conte, this guy is protected through thick and thin. It's the worst football I've seen at Tottenham for 2 decades. And I've seen AVB football and Santini football. It is mind-numbingly boring, and I cannot wait for this guy to walk away. I honestly can't. He is shockingly bad.
Honestly, the way your club's been run for the past, ever since Jose came in, it's almost counterproductive. I understand why that type of manager was brought in, because your core, your best players were getting to that point where they were in their pomp. You had to sort of win now to get the best out of them. And then your transfer strategy when you brought in a win now manager was to buy project players. But when you had a project manager, it was almost trying to buy win now players. It always seems to be a bit counterproductive at times. Like even Antonio Conte, this transfer window, he's not had one finished article coming, apart from, if you want to call Ivan Perisic finished. And I don't mean in a good sense. I mean, his legs are starting to go now. Fraser Forster, what was the point in that? Richarlison, 60 million to not even play. What was the point in Dan Juma coming in? Like you've got a builder in. What Tottenham done is they've got a builder in, and then given him the wrong set of tools. You've got someone to lay your bricks. You've given him some hammers, and to lay some bricks with some hammers.
I think the problem that you've got here, though, right, is I hear lots of Spurs fans, and the go-to line with Spurs fans is back Conte, he succeeds. But as the whole kind of back and manager line is thrown around way too much by definitely Spurs fans. I'm not going to talk about other more successful clubs. You'll never hear me banter Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea fan, because you guys could all finish bottom one year and you'd still win a trophy before we do, right? So I keep my feet on the ground. The problem is this, right, is the reports are from people close to the club that the players that Antonio Conte has wanted since he joined here was 1, Bastoni, 2, Vardiol of RB Leipzig, and 3, Lautaro Martinez. Now, let's break this down. This is where I'm not a stupid Spurs fan, right? This is where I like to think I'm quite honest. The moment Vardiol, right, let's just say Daniel Levy goes insane and puts a £90 million bid down for Vardiol, and RB go, yeah, we'll accept that. Right. At the same time, so do Man United, so do Man City, so do Real Madrid, so do Chelsea, right? Everyone's bidding for him. This guy, A, is not going to pick Tottenham Hotspur, and B, we're not going to pay anywhere near what your clubs will pay in terms of salaries. All right? Forget the transfer fee. Lautaro Martinez, if he comes on the market in a world of football now where there's hardly any goal scorers, you think his only option is going to be Tottenham Hotspur, where he's going to...
Also, he's a dramatically awful football player as well.
No, true.
He is not.
True, but that's not the point I'm making here. The point is these players that we want will be gobbled up by better clubs. So this ties into your point that we're bringing in managers that need players for right now. Those right now players won't join Tottenham Hotspur right now because of where we are. So you have to bring in a manager that is happy to have a transfer strategy that is buying the players the level below, coaching and mentoring them. At the moment, we've got none of that right. We've got a director of football that has absolutely flopped. 17 new players he's brought in, and the only 3 that have been a success are the 3 that he knows from Juventus, in Romero, Bentancur, and Kulusevski.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's a shambles.
Genuinely, I think that Spurs need to do in a similar situation to when Arsenal had Aubameyang, and it was like, do we keep Aubameyang or do we sell Aubameyang? I think Spurs need to have a complete rebuild and completely clear out all the everyone. And I don't mean clear out Deadwood, I mean clear out everyone, because Kane, quite frankly, is not going. He's not going to win anything at your club. He's not going to get any better than he already is because he's already fantastic, and you're not going to win anything in your current state. You'd probably be better off clearing out Kane, clearing out Son, clearing out all of your players. Obviously, you can't do that you can't do that all in one summer, but almost gutting out your club and rebuilding it in a brand new way and doing. I know it's a bad example right now, but doing a Todd Bowley in terms of we're going to get in a young manager who we trust in, and we're going to give him 5 years and see what we can do.
Do you know the problem with that?
You're not going to progress any further in your current state. Your current state has a ceiling.
The problem with that, listen, I completely agree with you. The problem with that is there's so much deadwood at this club, right, that have been put on huge salaries. So when you look at players like Lo Celso and Ndombele, who in Europe has got the money to buy these players?
But then, Slav, this is what you have to do. Do what we did. Just get rid of them at any cost.
Hang on. Yeah, listen, I agree, but we've got Daniel Levy as our chairman. Never, ever going to happen. This is the difference. I hear people say this all the time. Gut the whole thing out. I agree. Who's buying these Ndombeles and who's paying him the 200 grand a week we're paying him, right? So he's under no obligation to leave. Half the deadwood are English as well. Yeah. So our homegrown quota, now all of a sudden you've got to go and buy English players that have the English tax. The club has been run so badly for years. And I get your point on Kane, but without Harry Kane, and I know rival fans love to banter Harry Kane, without that man, we are a bottom half team. Year in, year out. This man holds our club together. Yeah. Every single manager is living off Harry Kane.
Sorry, bro. No, go ahead, David.
I was just going to jump in. Go ahead, David.
I was going to say, my point is that, yes, I get Harry Kane is the person who's currently keeping you afloat, but you've almost got to go. If you want to be a serious top 6 club, you've got to almost risk it and say, right now, where we are has a ceiling. And that ceiling right now is flirting with the bottom of top 4, probably Europe, when all of these teams like Newcastle, Arsenal, Chelsea finally start building their ways up.
I agree. And you know what's the thing with Harry Kane is he's irreplaceable for 2 reasons. One, how many other strikers are there out there that are younger in the world that not only can score like him but can play football like him?
There you go.
They don't really exist for the money that Spurs would pay. Harry Kane, he isn't worth it now because of his age and length of his contract. But 2 years ago, he was a £150 million plus player. The problem is when you keep someone like that to the end of their contract, maybe he wins you a League Cup, maybe you win an FA Cup, and maybe that's seen by the fan base and the owners as being worth it. But if at 33, 34 he retires and you get no money for him, there is just no way your owners are paying for a striker. Someone's saying here, Usherman, Spurs ain't buying him. So the point is, Kane is irreplaceable. He can't be replaced unless you sell him now for big money and reinvest it. So a lot of people will always think, and look, personally, Kane's also got to leave to create.
I agree.
To create a legacy. I think he's got to go on to win trophies. But on the Conte thing, since you sacked Pochettino, the appointments of your managers have been so weird, in my opinion. As in, it's trying to. Nuno wasn't. It was a big mistake, but he was your 13th choice. It's going for these, they'll win a trophy now kind of mentality over building something that has legs, because Poch did that to a degree. And ironically, Daniel Levy pulled the rug from underneath it, as opposed to it kind of falling apart organically. I think it was more the way they treated it with anything. But the fact that you haven't tried to continue that project is crazy. And you're now looking at how many years ago was that now? 4 years?
Yeah, 4 years.
4 years.
And now you've got half the fan base crying for Poch to come back.
Yeah.
That's where we're at.
Exactly. And the problem is if Poch comes back, he's only going to get you to a certain and this is where I'm fuming with the Spurs fan base is why don't you not better than Poch, as in why don't you want better for your club? Because all that would happen with Poch is he would come in and make you play nice football again. That would appease the majority of the fans so they're not having to go at the owners. And the owners would just spend till you get to a certain point, and then they pull the rug from underneath your feet again.
Yeah,
and
Terry, the problem with that is
crazy.
Terry, the problem with that is we're at a point as a club, right, that as much as fans will want, like I want the owners out more than you can imagine, right? But we're in a position where forget top four, right? For me, again, as I said, this wasn't a thing when I was growing up. Top four now seems to be a thing everyone gets really excited about. You're still fourth, right? The problem is this. Beyond Harry Kane's goals getting us top four. Now, I'm not saying we're definitely going to get it this year. I think Liverpool will get it, if I'm honest. But if we don't get top four this year, right, we then don't have the Champions League money coming in, which is what our owner cares about, right? He cares about the money. It never gets reinvested properly back into the club. So the problem is this. There is no academy of note. No academy of note bringing through players. There is no ethos. So we jump from manager to manager that keep playing these different styles of football. We've got director of football after director of football that keep playing these different styles of football, right? We've got managers that do, players from all these different eras now. You've got 7 or 8 players that were still there from Poch. So at the moment, it just feels like there's no roadmap. There's no strategy. So at the moment, I think fans need to put kind of winning on the back burner. And this club needs, I did a video about it today, saying a Tottenham Hotspur reset, i.e. you bring in direct owners, manager, head of academy, scouts and director of football that all go, right, this is day one. Where do we want to be as a club in 10, 20, 30 years' time? This is our ethos. This is our playing style. Every time a player goes into the academy, they know their pathway to the first team. Every time the scouts go looking, they go, yeah, he suits our style, right? Every time we bring in a manager, they're similar to the manager before, like what Brighton have just done with Potter and De Zerbi. Not identical, but Terry, we don't have any of that. Everything's on a win.
Bro, he literally said everything that I would have said. Like that's impressive. And when it comes to what I said when Conte got hired, bro, you're 100% spot on. I feel like Conte got hired for a paycheck. He genuinely didn't think he had a vision or plan long term with this club. It was literally a quick paycheck to get himself back into football. And Tottenham, he thought maybe he could achieve something. But at this point, you're right, bro. Everything you said is spot on. And
why was the contract 18 months?
And I think when he got hired, people said this to Spurs fans, and you probably heard it as a Spurs fan yourself from rivals, but you just didn't want to hear it because the reality is you're saying to yourself, we went from Jose Mourinho, who you shouldn't have sacked at the time you did. He could have won you a trophy that season. And then you went to Conte thinking you're going to do the same thing after Nuno. And Terry and you are both spot on. This is not the way you guys should do things. You guys should not be getting win now managers. You should be doing a project. And I agree with David. Maybe go get an Ivan Toney, go get an Osimhen, invest in the future, reset the whole starting 11 as soon as possible, and it's gonna get worse because the reality is you don't have the quality to do.
Do you know why that will never happen? Do you know why that's never going to happen? Because what we want as fans, because what we know is needed for the club is not the same journey. Right, we're going on this journey over here. Right, Levy and co are on a journey way over here. They've built a cash cow of a stadium. Right. They've built a business empire. We've built what no other football club in world football have built, right?
You've got an F1 track, right. Boxing,
and Sav,
UFC, wrestling.
Sorry to interject. And this has been, it's funny really because it's a top 6 show. Patrick's on it. Patrick has said to me a few times recently, I don't get why I've come for Tottenham so hard, and it's because the way Spurs fans at the start of the season. We're talking United haven't won trophies. We're going to do this before you. The way they go, I know they're Arsenal's rivals, but the things they say, it's almost like you do realize what Arsenal are compared to you. It's crazy. I said it on the last show. It's like us on this panel giving Gordon Ramsay culinary advice. It's ridiculous. You don't do it. You know, it's like me going up to the Paul brothers and saying, "Oh, you guys, listen to me. I'll give you some tips on how to get more views on YouTube." It's stupid. There's certain things in life you just don't challenge. And I think too many Spurs fans, I get you love your club, but like I said earlier about Man United fans talking about quads, and look, we're Man United and we've won trophies, but talking about quads is far too premature with where we are. Spurs sort of talking about being bigger than Arsenal, going to win before this team. We're doing this, we're doing that. The club's going in the right direction. We've got the manager that's going to do this. It's crazy. Antonio Conte.
You know what I heard in the summer, Terry?
Go on.
Do you know what I heard in the summer? The embarrassing thing. And this is why I get, if there's any Spurs, I've seen a few Spurs fans who I always see in my channel in the chat, and they'll agree with me on this. I get a lot of shit as a Spurs fan. Sorry if I can't swear. I get a lot of okay, cool. I get a lot of stick as a Spurs fan, right, in my own community, because I stay level-headed. So when we beat Chelsea and West Ham, I don't lose my mind and everything's amazing. When we lose to Sheffield United and Wolves, it's not the end of the world, right? Because this is Tottenham Hotspur. And in the summer, you had fans saying these three things, and I hate every one of them. One, we've left Arsenal in the rearview mirror. What? Because we finished above them by 1 or 2 points. Two, we've won the transfer window. Oh, it makes me feel dirty. It's
Bissouma,
awful,
Bissouma.
Right?
No, not Bissouma, Richard.
The third thing with this,
Chet Spence,
right, is we will challenge for the title because we've got Antonio Conte. Only then when we lose games to go, it's not Conte, it's the owners. These fans won't make up their minds. And this is the thing. I told you guys, I hope you see it now. I'm an honest Spurs fan, right?
Bruv, and I
can't banter you boys for trophies. I can't.
Bruv, exactly. And do you know what it is, bruv? I love that you've said that. And this is the thing. Antonio Conte would have been a great appointment. Again, I'm going to sound arrogant when I say this, but if your club had done what I said, you had to give him everything he wants. Jose, you have to give him everything they want. And the first part of his time, that 6 months until the end of the season, you got him some good players for him in the January, and look what you went on to do. This summer, it started off well, and I was like, Spurs are doing well. By the end of the window, I remember sitting, and this is when it all went wrong for me with Tottenham fans, and they all started piling on me. And I was like, I know you signed 6 players, but one of them's a backup goalkeeper that isn't very good. Jed Spence, you didn't want. Perisic
is 94.
He's old. And I kind of looked at Richarlison. I was like, I think this guy's well overrated. I don't even know how many goals he's going to score for you.
But Terry, not even that he's well overrated. Not even that he's well overrated, but Spurs fans go on about how Harry Kane's the best thing in the world. Heung-min Son is absolutely world class, and Kulusevski is the best young winger in the league. So where does Richarlison even fit into that squad anyway? It doesn't even fit. He literally doesn't fit in the squad.
And the thing is, and Spurs have some good players, by the way, because the three you mentioned, I think, are very good. I think Christian Romero is very good. The only problem I actually think he's got is he's a little bit too hot-headed at times, and he can get into trouble in the modern day game. But he's a very good football player, and Spurs have some quality. But the level of Romero and Kulusevski is about the standard of player that you should always be going for. Now, you'll always buy a dud or two, because every manager will sign a player that doesn't quite get to where you think, or you'll have an academy graduate that everyone raves about who doesn't quite hit the heights that they expect. That's kind of normal. But the level of gas from Spurs fans based on what they achieve, I've always found it nauseating. Like I already said earlier, people said it was a deflection. It isn't. Liverpool and City fans coming for me and Arsenal fans coming for us, I kind of get it and I accept it, you know? The only element of the banter that I won't accept is I'm going to remember this forever, because I just won't.
But Terry, you look at
when Spurs fans came to me, I just sort of sit there and thought, who are you? Who are you laughing at? Do you know what I mean?
Look at the Chelsea game.
Weird to me. It was so weird.
Look at the Chelsea game, right? Spurs beat what is, let's be honest, right? I think Chelsea will be back. I think they'll be fine. Not this year, right?
I've ever seen.
Right. This is my point, right? We've beaten what I've seen a very weak Chelsea team who are, people use the words rebuild and transition a lot when it isn't right. Chelsea are the epitome right now of a rebuild and a transition, and they're trying to do it all in about 12 months. That's fine, right? But it's a weak Chelsea team with no goals, right? We beat them, and then there are videos going around about Chelsea get battered everywhere they go. Then I've got people going to me, you don't seem happy that you've beat Chelsea. And I'm like, hang on. I'm happy, but you lot are all going to make these videos. You're going to banter all these other fans. Then we're going to go and do something really silly, like lose to Sheffield United and Wolves. No, we're going to go on a run. We've lost to Sheffield United. We've lost to Wolves, right? And then now it's, oh my God, it's the owners. Well, last week you were telling me Conte's the best manager in the world because we managed to beat Chelsea, who don't score goals, and West Ham, who are firmly in a relegation battle. Spurs fans are that, right? And you know why they're that, right? Because our team is that. Win 2, lose 2. Win 2, lose 2.
And Sav, I've said this a few times, and Spurs fans hate it, but I want to get your opinion on this. I also think one of the biggest reasons they're going so crazy this year is because Arsenal are on course to win the league. If Arsenal were sitting 7th or 8th right now, as annoyed as you guys would be, I think it would be dampened down. I think it's increased it. It's like you're on fire. But Arsenal being on the top of the league, I think it's like pouring petrol over it, bro.
Do you know why it is? I think. Look, I've had this opinion of Spurs for the last. Look, I've been Enik and Levy out since 2007 when they basically sacked Martin Yeo at half time. 2007, 2008. Forgive me, long time ago. The problem is that we finished above Arsenal last year. We got the Champions League football, and according to our fans, they've got the B-Tech PE teacher that I kept hearing in Arteta. We've got serial winner Conte. So it's like, okay, right, you've got all those things. We won the transfer window. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that's what these people say. Right, go on then, kick on. Arsenal have gone, whew, we've just gone like that. We've stayed flat. Now people go, oh, but you're top 4. Conte's doing all right. Conte's not doing all right. Harry Kane is doing all right. Harry Kane is scoring goals. Every game we look crap. Harry Kane digs us out a hole with a goal, right? And then people go, yeah, Conte, there you go, he's winning games. He's not doing a thing. He's got dinosaur tactics. His substitutions are absolutely shocking. And for me, see the season out. Go. I don't know. Heung-min Son can go as well. I'm done. It's just
You know what my favourite Tottenham thing is, though? I just got to dive in real quick on this. My favourite Tottenham thing in the past 2 months. Antonio Conte got nominated for Manager of the Month for the past month. Antonio Conte's only game he managed was the loss. The only game Antonio Conte was there for was the loss.
I think you're spot on about it, and I see a lot of similarities with Man United fans. Some Man United fans only care about the Glazers when we're losing games, and it frustrates the living daylights out of me because it's not something you can be part-time. Does that make sense? Do you know what I mean? It's like you've got to, it's like if they stay at the club, all the hope I've got for Man United's future, if they stay as owners, my whole mindset will change. Someone said to me yesterday, why didn't you bring the Glazers up when you lost? Because they're leaving. It's kind of irrelevant right now to complain about them because there's light at the end of the tunnel. So it's good to hear some honesty from you there, Sav. Some super chats here. First one says, Savva, I can't lie as a gooner. You're one of the only Spurs content creators, along with Henry Wright and Stelios, that I genuinely respect. And you're real and honest. Thank
Henry,
you.
yes. Henry Wright, yes.
Yeah, I mean, Stelios, that's a guy that put a woman's address on the internet. So I would no personal respect for a man that puts a female's address on the internet. That's a madness to me. You probably didn't know that before super chatting, but be very mindful. Spurs are to Arsenal what Arsenal are to Manchester United.
That's not even remotely true.
That's not true, Roy. Like Man United and Arsenal's rivalry is real. Spurs could finish 4th to 7th, and that's not shocking, is what Adam says here. This guy is a W Spurs fan, is what Guna King says. As a Spurs fan, that has to be more sense than the whole technical Spurs staff. Hope he gets to change the rooster badge, making them look like chickens, is what Black has to say here. Jerome says, what, sell Kane for big money and get Levy to buy flops like with the Bow money? I hear what you're saying, Jerome. At the same time, I also understand why you wouldn't want to do that because you're worried about what he would spend it on. But keeping Kane's a bad business model because it's just going to end with no trophies and no money. And plus, I want him. There isn't a joke. I want him. A real and honest Spurs fan. A reset is needed right now, is what Guna King says. Whiskey says Spurs should join local tournaments for trophies. Neto here says should have cleared out long ago. Said it with Aubameyang and Arsenal. Then we re-signed him, and fans didn't want to listen. Look at us now. I think Neto's a Chelsea fan. Spurs are stuck in a loop until they get rid of Harry Kane, is what Martin believes. Nesto comes back here and says, with respect, I say this, transfers are not the problem. Stagnation as a club is. Tottenham have no goals, no drive for trophies. Even the fans, most fans or some fans, accept this. We've got some more here about the United stuff. United fan, and I follow my countrymen, Odegaard and Haaland, etc. Oh, that's why you cover the Arsenal stuff. I hear you now. Sorry, my apologies. I misunderstood. United and Liverpool's next match will say more than this result, and Egal's narrative isn't held by all Arsenal fans. Our humbling gave us Arteta and chance for the title, so I'm good. I agree, and I know that Egal agrees with that. These results are humbling, and they're always used as banter. But to be honest with you, like the 8-2 against Arsenal, when I see Man United fans use that now, in general terms, if Egal celebrates winning on Thursday night and someone goes, "Remember we beat you 8-2," that's dead. Like it will die. United fans, you just got to take it now and not overreact, because what is it they say? Yesterday's news is tomorrow's chip paper. That said, Rashford would cook Trent, but the only thing he cooked was a microwave beef patty in the back of the facility. Yeah, I mean, he got put in the middle. It's crazy. I still don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about it big. But thank you.
Trent had this moment though. Trent still had this tackle, so he's left
He
with
did.
something.
He did. I bet that's mad. That's the tackle stats don't go down as deep, but goalies sometimes. I remember a goalie saying he gets annoyed when he makes a great save and then it's given as offside, because statistically it don't count as a save. It doesn't go in the stat box or the replay box or anything. But yeah, he had a good game, Trent. To be fair, he had a very good game. Arsenal voted as the next talking point by the viewers. Great comeback at the weekend. The question around this is Gary Neville right? Are Arsenal conceding too many goals to win this Premier League title? What are you saying, Kurdish?
I want to say this is no discredit to Arsenal. I think Arteta's done a great job, and I think that starting 11 is fantastic. But I think we're already seeing the cracks. And when you're coming up against this City side, your luck token, you only get a few, and you have to use them towards the real latter stages of the season. They're using their token of luck too early. They've used it a couple of times already. And I think defensively, we're seeing cracks in there. I think more than anything, we're seeing the legs go. I think they've been playing at such a high intense level. When you watch Arsenal, they're really fun to watch. They play really good football, but they play a real intense way of football. And I think we're seeing the legs go a little. And I thought, even if you were a betting man this weekend at halftime, you probably still would have backed Arsenal to win that game. So I wasn't overly surprised about the results and them coming back. But for me, I'm seeing the legs go a little bit, and I think long term that will be the difference in this season.
I think Gary Neville's absolutely talking shit, and it was a piece of shit. And we have conceded 25 goals this season. Man City have conceded 25 goals. We have the second most clean sheets this season. That is a cast iron fact. To say our defense has been poor, yes, defense was poor in that Bournemouth game. You can pinpoint the Bournemouth game, but to say we're conceding too many goals, you're absolutely out of this world. What are you talking about?
So he didn't say that. He wasn't just talking about that game. I just want to go back to what he said, just because obviously to represent what he said fairly. For some reason that certain website isn't letting me click onto their fixtures. So I'm going to go onto a different one because I don't want to get this wrong. Bear with me just a second. So I've got to go to results, not fixtures. I'm an idiot. Very sorry. He basically said that you've conceded goals to Bournemouth, goals to Villa, goals to City, and goals to Man United in sort of the last in recent weeks. There have been a lot of games where you've conceded more goals, and he thinks that if you don't fix that and go back to getting more regular clean sheets, he thinks in the last 10 games it will cost you. So essentially you're saying, Egal, that you personally have no issues with the amount of goals in those games you've conceded.
Let me just tell you this. Man City have conceded to Aston Villa, Nottingham Forest, and Bournemouth. Is he not going to mention that also? Or is it just one way? Honestly, I feel like it's a narrative and agenda to try to just talk about Arsenal in a negative light. But the reality is we've actually been really good defensively. And Man City, in their last couple of games against Bournemouth, they conceded. Against Nottingham Forest, they drew 1-1. Against Aston Villa, they had to come back. So when we're talking about, Arsenal's defense, it's both teams have to defend well. Arsenal have been defending well majority of the season, and we actually have been defending better than Man City. So to come here and say Arsenal have to be better defensively, it's a cheap throwaway comment.
Whoa.
I think it's the attack you lose on.
Hold the phone. You haven't been defending better than Man City. Don't do that.
One second. Do Man City have a better defense than us this season?
Yes, they do. Yes, they
Based
do.
on what?
The underlying numbers say that Man City have a better.
What underlying numbers? Bring them up.
So per game, Man City concede 0.5 less of a goal by XG compared to you do. That's a fact. And again, you may not look at football the way that I look at football, but the way I look at football is, if you're conceding more chances per game, that's going to catch up to you eventually.
1 second.
And again, Egal, I still think you're going to win the league. I hope you know that. I still think you're going to win the league.
One second. Conceding more chances. 1 second. We concede more chances, but based on the metrics that you're talking about, we have more clean sheets than them. We have more clean sheets than them.
I'm not talking about those metrics.
Yeah, wait. We both played the same amount of games. Yeah. Listen to this. We both have conceded the same amount of goals, but yet we have 2 more clean sheets in them. But the underlying metrics are saying that, they have more attacking threats against them, less than them. That doesn't matter. The reality is we have conceded less. We have 1 second. Based on the average games played, we've conceded less. We've conceded less goals. The same amount of goals, but we have more clean sheets.
But Egal, I'm looking at.
All I'm saying to me, Egal, is that when you concede multiple in a game, which is then where I'm looking at it going, if you're conceding more, Man City will go 5 games where they concede. They concede one, they concede one, they concede one, they concede one, they concede one. Whereas Arsenal, I think, can go 2 clean sheets, 1 goal, 2. And it's those games where you concede multiple, where I sit there and go, yes, you're getting yourselves out of those holes at the minute. And you will continue to do that for the majority of the season.
Once again, this is an absolute ridiculous statement. To say you play 3 games, you concede 1 goal in 3 games, and then the other team concedes in 2 of the games and gets 1 clean sheet. You still have the same defense.
I think what it's boiling down to. Now, you all know my opinions if you guys have watched my video earlier. I disagree with Gary Neville in the sense of, yes, they've conceded some goals recently, but I think they're going to get through this run-in, and I think Arsenal are going to win the league. And I think having a 5-point gap is very, very important at this moment in time. I think Arsenal look great. They had a slow start against Bournemouth, but they came back. The comeback against the other goals conceded were in their wobble, and for me, that's an anomaly. However, the challenge from David's interesting, and I suppose the question I would pose to Egal based on David's challenge is, you are conceding, I just went and checked it now on who scored, you are conceding more attempts on goal, more chances on goal per game than Man City. Do you think that in the run-in, Egal, you're going to withstand the pressure that you're up against? And if so, why do you think you're going to withstand against that pressure?
Man City currently have had a better attack than us. Hence, they're going to have less shots on target. They're going to have more control of the game. We're still not on Man City's level when it comes to attack. We need to improve our attack. And as we improve our attack, we're going to face less shots on target. We're going to have more control of the ball. And that's where we improve. The defense is actually the least of our issues. I think he was on the right track, but he mentioned the wrong part of the game. That's what I think.
But sorry, I want to go back to the question, because I also disagreed in my video this afternoon with Gary Neville. But my question was, are Arsenal going to withstand the pressure in this run in the last 10 to 12 games? And if you are to win the league, and if so, why do you think you're going to do that?
We just need to continue to do what we're doing. And at this moment in time, I do believe we can maintain this pressure. Every time we've gone down, we've shown that we can come back and we have the resilience. We've rotated, and we do also have some players coming back from injury. So I do feel like things are currently going our way, and I just see them continuing on this trajectory. Things can change, but at this moment in time, there's no signs to say that we're going to drop off.
Shall I tell you why you won't win the league, Egal?
Go ahead.
Shall I tell you? So season 17-18, Man City had Aguero and Sterling in the top 10 of goal scorers, and they had 2 players in the top 20. Season 18-19, exactly the same. Season 21-22, they had Sterling, Mahrez, and KDB in the top 10, and they had Gabriel Jesus, Silva, and Foden in the top 20. And this season so far, they've got 1 person in the top 10, and they've got 4 players in the top 20. When it comes to the finest margins and you play Man City, and we're talking about 1 or 2 points, their bench always trumps. Unless you are absolutely perfect like we were that season, we'd already won the league in January, then you've got no chance. Because when it comes to depth, in the depth they have to able to change games at the finest moments, and we're talking about the last 6 games of the season, when the teams are really defending and fighting for 1 point, City have the ability to bring off a player that cost 100 million, and I just don't think you guys. I know you can say you made subs against Bournemouth, but when we're talking about the tougher games, I don't believe you have the level of depth in your team to match what they can do.
Once again, I just need to fact check you. This season, in the top 20, if I'm not mistaken, we have Martinelli, Bukayo Saka, and Martin Odegaard. Jesus got injured. He was in there before he got injured. So when you're talking about goals, we do have goals in our team. We just they're spread out throughout the squad.
But they're not from the bench. That's what I'm trying to say to you.
1 second. Another thing, you're saying they're not coming from the bench. We have Leandro Trossard now on the bench. We have Eddie Nketiah on the bench. 1 second. Let me respond, my friend, please. Let me respond. We have Leandro Trossard on the bench. We have Eddie Nketiah on the bench. We have Gabriel Jesus coming back on this team. At this moment in time, we haven't actually. We keep talking about narratives about benches. Yes, Man City have more quality in depth, and they have players that are highly rated. But we still have squad. We still have squad depth. It might not be to the level of Man City, but this season alone, we have the player who's been the most impactful off the bench in Reece Nelson. Call it whatever you want as a fluke, but this guy has 3 goals and 2 assists off the bench. That's the most that anyone has contributed off the bench this season.
Egal, sorry, but can I say, Egal, I think when it comes to the last 5-6 games, as I said, when people are fighting for their lives for 1 point, I think you're kidding yourself if you say Leonardo Trossard can make the same impact that Riyad Mahrez does off the bench.
Sorry,
I think you're kidding
I'm not
yourself.
saying that. That's not what I'm saying. You're mistaking what I'm saying.
You said you got Trossard.
I acknowledge that they have quality. I'm just saying, to dismiss the quality we have and to say that it's so far beneath what it is to basically discredit everything we've been doing so far this season. Because with the lesser team, with the lesser squad depth, with the lesser situation, we still have more points to them. We still have close to their goal difference, and people are actually not realizing we're really close to their goal difference now in comparison to what it was a couple of weeks ago. And on top of everything else, we wouldn't be in the position we're in right now if we didn't do some rotations. We've rotated using Trossard. We've rotated using Eddie Nketiah. We've rotated using Reece Nelson. We've rotated using Jorginho. We've rotated using all these players. Our defense, we've rotated using Kieran Tierney and Tomiyasu. Why are people only choosing to talk about the fact that it's going to be another test going forward, but we've shown that up until this point, we've continued to be able to weather the storm? Why are you ignoring what's in front of your face?
We're not. I literally just wanted an answer to my question about you conceding more chances on goal, and you just dismissed it. I'd just like an answer to it.
No, I agree with you, but I told you it's because Man City have a better, well-oiled attack and they hold on to the ball more. Hence,
but my point is, how are you going to combat that situation? You can acknowledge it, but that's my only thing with Arsenal is I still think you're going to win the league, because my head says Man City are going to win the league because I've seen them do it before and blah blah blah. But I have this thing of when destiny's in front of you, destiny does its thing. And it's the same thing with Messi in Argentina. I said, I don't care about France, whatever. It's destiny's winning this cup. And I think it's the same thing with you guys. It's just destiny that you're going to win. Because every time you've come to a situation where you could have lost or you could have dropped points, you've dug yourself out of the hole.
Yeah, and that for me is why I've backed Arsenal. As much as I think there are underlying metrics that support City, I understand the argument that they've been in this race before. They're experienced in this. And that's why I've kind of not written Liverpool off this year. Even when it's sort of, they might come back and they drop points, there's still this voice in the back of my head that says Liverpool will probably still make the top 4. But with Arsenal, it's just, I think I read a stat today, and I think these stats are significant, that it had been something like 4 years since Arsenal had won a game in the last minute. And they've done it like 3 or 4 times this season already. And a lot of that's been in the last few weeks. There is a resilience about this Arsenal team. And every time they do it, I feel like their mental sort of strength grows and they galvanize more. And I've watched City this year, and everybody keeps saying they're going to come good and find their best form at some point. That's what Gary Neville's saying. That's kind of frustrating me. They'll find their form at some point. But you said that 10 games ago, and they still haven't found that form yet. So that's why I'm still siding with Arsenal on this. But Sav, you've got a different view on it, mate. What are you saying, bro?
A massively different view. Yeah. Listen, I think experience is everything. Look, one thing that we won't know, and look, we won't know to the end of the season, is the business end of the season is not like any other stage of the season. And this Arsenal team haven't got experience of that. Now, listen, what I'll say is this, even as a Spurs fan, Arsenal go on and win this league, with Arteta, who's never been anywhere near close to winning a league before, having not even qualified for the Champions League, and with a squad that hasn't got the depth of City, hats off, fair play to you. You've done it, right? Absolutely brilliant. No one can knock that. However, City for me, this is the telling thing that no one's mentioned. Arsenal still have to go to Man City. And that game for me there is going to be the difference between them winning the league and not. Because City will beat you. And there's no way on earth City will lose that game to you. No way on earth they will lose at their ground to you if it means surrendering the title. And I don't think Arsenal are good enough to not drop any other points in any of the other games between now and the end of the
Arsenal have a really interesting end to the season. I think in the last 6 games, they play Man City away, Chelsea at home, Newcastle away, and Brighton at home, back to back to back to back.
Right.
That's a really tough set of fixtures.
I think
Brighton again.
They've got
Brighton at home.
Oh. Listen, Man City have got previous, right? Now we can say, Man City, will they bounce back into form? But if you actually look at Man City's form at the moment, apart from the draw against Nottingham Forest, their form is pretty impressive, right? They're starting to win games again. Pep, I summed it up like this about a month ago, right? When they beat us 4-2, actually, we went 2-0 up, and all Spurs fans got excited as normal. Then they scored 4 past us. That's as Spursy as it gets. But I said it almost felt like Pep was bored of winning the league and almost started to play his own version of Football Manager with the club. It was like, okay, I'll just leave De Bruyne out, Silva out, Gundogan out, Diaz out, Laporte out, and he was just trying new things. If you notice, in the last 6-7 games, he's dropped that. He has gone back to all the tried and tested. They've suddenly stopped conceding goals. They're suddenly scoring a lot of goals again. Yeah. And they've got the know-how. And if you didn't have to play them at theirs, I would say, yeah, 5 points is a big gap. But for me, 3 points of that 5 is gobbled up right there. And if you look at Man City's running where they've got their last 5 games of Fulham, Leeds, Everton, Brentford, and Chelsea at City. I just think it's the difference between their running and yours. I'm sorry. And
listen,
I'll hold my hands up if you win it.
1 second. I agree with you. City are a good team, and they have a lot of squad depth. Everything you said about that is accurate. The part about the experience, Arsenal's experience, I feel like I can question that a little bit. And also when it comes to City, who's to say that they don't drop points? They're still in the FA Cup. They're still in the Champions League. They still have all these fixtures. So they do have a lot of fixture congestion. We're just getting back into Europe. We're going to see it. The key thing for me that a lot of people are forgetting is how we do our rotation in the Europa League. Do we rotate a lot in the Europa League, or do we go for both and maybe stretch ourselves a little thin?
What do you want to see? Do you want to see a weaker team in the Euro? Are you kind of willing to sacrifice it, or play a weaker team and focus more on the Premier League? Or do you think, no, you play your strongest team, a little bit like Ten Hag has done recently, you play your strongest team in every game to try and win every trophy? What would you prefer Arteta to do, Egal?
We have a lot of players in this team that can be rotated, and we have serviceable options for them. So Thomas Partey for Jorginho. You have a situation where Fabio Vieira might come in for Odegaard on occasion. You have a situation where Xhaka was dropped, so he's probably going to start the next game. So I think it's going to be a situation where you see 3 to 4 changes. You don't see a whole team change like similar to you would see in an FA Cup or League Cup. It's going to be slight.
I understand that.
That's what I'm going for.
So I understand. I understand that, but what do you want?
I want us to try to batter them away from home and have the first tie wrapped up so we can rotate at home, and then try to do the same thing. So I'm not giving up on either league and
I respect that. That's why I was asking. I get what the manager might do, but I like to know what fans want themselves as opposed to what the manager might do.
Coming back to the experience part. Zinchenko has experience, if I'm not mistaken. He won numerous Premier League titles. Gabriel Jesus has experience. He won numerous Premier League titles. Jorginho's an experienced player winning a Champions League Euros. If I'm not mistaken, we signed players who are winners to add to this team that was young and to bring that experience through. Also, when listening to some of the greatest managers in world football, like Jose Mourinho, he spoke about the fact that when you sign players of the profile of a Ramsdale or Odegaard, and you have young players coming up from the academy, their hunger and desire can sometimes push you over the edge. Just looking at his documentary today that I was watching about him talking about Porto and the players and the profiles that he brought into that team, that was the thing that galvanized them and brought them them and push them over the edge to win their Champions League, to win their league titles.
I'm not suggesting at all that you can't win it. I didn't say that.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
I just feel that Man City have been there, seen it, and done it.
I get it.
Also, managing Europa League, as you said, managing Europa League games with your Premier League games, and then equally, what someone else just said, your running versus their running. I fancy it if you've got to say who's going to win their last 5 games in a row to win the league, especially if they beat you, right? I fancy City to go 5 on the bounce. I don't fancy Arsenal.
I didn't even finish. This is my point. I agree with you with the experience. They have more experience in totality, but we have more hunger. We have more players who can push us through this to that situation.
Why do you have more hunger?
The reason being, when you continuously win, there's a level of complacency. There's a level of arrogance that you have. There's a level where Man City have done this so many times, it's just become another thing for them. They don't look at it as the same way. They even spoke about it when speaking about the Carabao Cup the other day. They said when they won the first time, they celebrated. When they won the 4th time, it was like business as usual. That can be scary in one sense, but in the same sense, you can look at it as they've dropped off, and that might be the reason. They don't have the same
fact. You're passing opinion as fact.
Okay, let me give you a fact. Let me give you a fact. Bernardo Silva wanted out of the club. There's been controversy throughout the season. They even had to get rid of Cancelo in the middle of the season. We know some of those players in the dressing room, like İlkay Gundogan, have his contract running down and he's going to be leaving soon. So when you talk about these players at Man City, they don't have as much incentive to push on and have this. They don't have the same hunger.
How do you know that? You've got no way of knowing that. I hate when football fans when football fans pass off opinion as fact. Listen, there are things you can debate on. We can't sit it.
Pep said it. Gundogan said it.
You've got to calm down. You've got to calm down.
You're
crazy.
I'm sorry.
Relax. Right?
My bad. But
we have no idea, right, what Gundogan's hunger is, even though he's leaving in the summer, or Bernardo Silva. I watched Gundogan the other day against Newcastle. He looked on fire. He was amazing, right? These players are winners for a reason, because they don't want to lose. Winners want to win. Now, when they're saying winning the 4th League Cup is business as usual, that is a scary prospect rather than one where they're not taking it seriously. The fact that they just see it as BAU, the fact that they don't have to get the hunger to win that, shows they are winners. Now, I'm not saying you can't win the league, but to say that you've got more hunger than them, you've got no way of knowing that.
They've admitted it.
Who did?
Let me tell you, quotes directly from Gundogan saying that this team lacks the same hunger as previously. Pep Guardiola saying that players in this dressing room are not taking it as serious, even in dressing room. There's reports of this in January. Also, Kevin De Bruyne has come out at one point in this season talking about it also. So it's not me stating something as an emotion, as a fact. It's the players themselves stating it, and that's the facts that I'm bringing to the table.
So if you never heard of psychology, you don't think that Pep Guardiola's coming out, he's pissed off with his team, he's annoyed at what he's seeing. You don't think he's coming out and challenging them by saying these guys don't want it as much as the years before. Funny that since he said that, what's happened?
We still see the results, though. That's the reality. I get it. We still see the results, but it's not a coincidence where 3 or 4 names are saying it. There's clearly an issue where players want to leave the dressing room. These things are things that are reality. Man City,
if they win, if they win, what does it say about your team then? If this team that aren't hungry win the league above your team, what does that say about your players?
That we have to see the circumstance of how we drop off or what happens. We can't predict.
Come on, answer the question. You deflect everything. Answer the question.
No, I'm not deflecting. The reality is, if they completely drop off, it will show that you were right. But if they don't drop off and it's a final thing where City just continue the pace, they beat us, and it's like 1 point off at the end, maybe then we can talk about it. It's 2 different narratives. We don't know what the narrative is going to be at the end of the season based on how many points difference. If you can tell me the exact amount of points that we're going to lose by and how it's going to happen, then I can win.
If you don't win the league, the only narrative is you've been poor. That's it. You
that's not it.
You cracked under pressure.
The only narrative will be who won and who didn't. And listen, Egal, I read that article as well from İlkay Gundogan where he said that after the Southampton defeat, he said that in that game, he said today and in some weeks gone by, we seem to have lacked a little bit of desire that we haven't had in recent years. I think for me, the one question I would pose, and KJ put this into the comment sections, I won't plagiarize, is can't mindsets change. And I think that's what people are talking about when it comes to this run-in, that City will click into gear because it's almost like muscle memory for them. They wait for that point and they snap. I'm on your side, by the way, Gal. I think Arsenal will see it through, but I do agree with the challenge. My only issue with Gary Neville, just to go back to his point, and I've said it in every video, is that I don't feel like he credits Arsenal enough with how much they've... It's almost like Arsenal have improved. But anyway, City. And I think there's a difference. Saying City are going to win the league, I don't think is an unfair opinion. It's not weird to predict City winning the league. Yeah. It's just the way he kind of plays down. A lot of his points hold water. It just bothers me that he puts a lot of energy and effort.
The delivery of them.
And I say this all the time. And I call out all pundits for this type of thing because they are paid by us. We pay their wages by paying for Sky to give us fair analysis. And what I don't like, what I've seen from television pundits in recent years, is they've seen what's worked for content creators and have kind of become a little bit character-esque. And every now and then, even Graham Souness, I agree with something from him that he said yesterday, where he spoke about United players getting a bit too big for their boots. But that's because even when he was playing, when Liverpool were bigger than us, Man United, you always got more fame and attention when United did something well because they're a more famous club. He said it's just like in Germany. I didn't know this. In Germany, a lot of the Germans nickname Bayern Munich FC Hollywood because when you do something there, you just get the fame that comes with being at that club is different. So when I see that kind of punditry, it's like I'm listening because that's what I want from these actual experts that have been there. What I don't want is their pettiness or their bitterness or their rivalry coming out because we have that from fans. The fans are meant to do that, not the people that are paid £10 million a year to give us detailed analysis. That's why I call him out for it.
You know what actually triggers me, and Slap, it wasn't what you were saying. It was just the narrative that Man City, when they win a game tough and they push through and they've been not as good as they've been last season, this is a sign of champion. But Arsenal concede 2 goals and end up coming back. Oh, defensively, we've been shocking and we need to...
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Not you. Not what you said, but the way that you're speaking just triggered me because that's the narrative that I constantly keep seeing.
Can I let you know where I am with Arsenal? Can I let you know where I am with Arsenal, right?
That's gaslighting.
That's as honest I can be.
No, but that's I'll come back to you in a second, Sam. That's Egal for you. Egal sometimes, PTSD. Like earlier when you were like, Terry, you think what I'm saying, you think what I'm saying is bullshit. No, I don't. You just think things and then you think them so deeply, you think they're actually being said. Calm down. Football's not that serious, Egal. You need to see a therapist.
Yeah, no, I don't, man. I don't need to see a therapist. I'm good. But when it comes to football, I'm just get overly emotional sometimes.
No, it's cool. Terry, can I just say where I'm on Arsenal, right? Listen, one of the things I love to do, I love to see the chat. I think what people think is because I'm a Spurs fan that I'm putting down Arsenal. I've literally said earlier on in the show how Arsenal have gone like that since last season has been magnificent, right? As a Spurs fan, do I want to see Arsenal win the league? Of course I don't, but I hope everyone's probably seen it. I'm a bit more level-headed than that. At the end of the day, if you win it, if Arsenal win this league, I'm old enough and I'm ugly enough to turn around and go, fair play, you deserved it, because the team with the most points deserves it. All I'm saying is I think it's going to be so much closer than everyone's making out purely because of the Man City-Arsenal game at Man City. If you didn't have that, I would shoo you in right now. But that game, in that game, title's yours. That's all I've said. Right?
I think as well, the thing that gives me the confidence about the City hunger part, and that was a big thing because, Gundogan and Pep have come out and said that. When they beat Arsenal at the Etihad, I know they went on and drew the next game, and that was a horrific result for them. But the way they played at the Emirates, the way they scored their goals, the way everything was around their performance at the Emirates made me think they've got the hunger. And like it was said earlier, Pep Guardiola's going back to basics. Phil Foden's not now being chucked here, there and everywhere. He's back in his best position and he's doing really well from it. They're going back to basics with how they're attacking. They're trying to utilise Haaland in the way that he should be used. And that's not me knocking Arsenal because I think Jesus coming back and not having to rely on Nketiah or Martinelli or bringing other players out of position to, cover for it. Having Gabriel Jesus back, if he comes back and doesn't need 3 to 4 games to acclimatise again, that will give Arsenal the edge because then I think your attack is good and then Jesus will be playing catch up on the goals. He's got something to fight for.
I'm going to have to go, but love Terry, and I think you were right. Everyone's scared of Arsenal.
Do you know what? I do. I've got a lot of time for Egal, but sometimes he's very neurotic, is the word I would use. Like he does it. Like look, the viewers, and it's not. Sometimes he gets triggered by the viewers because the viewers. I don't think they realize that they're all right. Egal, he's cooking you, and then he'll be like, oh, he gets really annoyed. It's like, but he's not. We've got some super chats here that I need to go to. There's so many of them. The first one from TBG says, I have a problem with the narrative City have been hyped up to be this unbeaten force in the league. However, if Arsenal win the league, everyone will say City weren't at their best. Which one is it? Well, that's where I do. That's where I agree with you. That's why, for me, I've not slagged City off this year. Some City fans think I have. I've just said you're not quite as good as you were, but that doesn't mean you can't win the league. You're still a brilliant team. Arsenal, I think, have been fantastic as well.
I like the display picture as well there as well. Nice little Martinez.
This here says, I like the Spurs fan until he showed all this salt. I don't think you've been salty. I just think you've given the difference. Do you know what I like about it? You gave a football opinion, and I don't think it was based on you being. There's probably an element of Spurs in there.
It's not. It's not. Do you know what, Terry? I'd actually, if it wasn't Arsenal, right, I'd actually love to see someone other than City win this title. And I've sat there and said it. Arsenal are miles better than Spurs. Yeah, if they win the league, hats off to them. And my phone will blow up from my Arsenal friends. So it is what it is.
I hear you on that. This says Arsenal's expected goals against is 25, City's is 21, both 25. City's defense is underperforming. We will be fine.
No. So Terry, my point is, though, if those 4 goals catch up to you and you don't know when they're going to come, that is worth 6 points, 6 points, 9 points. How many points is that worth? You have no idea how many points those 4 goals could be worth. Again, they could be worth nothing. But my point is that to act like conceding a couple more chances per game might not catch up to you.
Well, it's one of the reasons why, again, I wouldn't say we were in a title race, because we on average concede 4 more attempts on goal per game than Arsenal and City do. So that over a 15-game period is a lot of shots on your goal extra, and you're going to concede more. And then when you have results like 7-up, do you know what I mean? It's even worse. Richard here says, I would like to bet the Liverpool fan $1,000 that Arsenal win the league. Terry will escrow it.
I'll just go to the bookies. I'll get better odds.
Wow. I'll have that bet with him.
You do £1,000 bet.
I'll have £1,000 bet for charity. I'll have £1,000 bet right now with this guy that Arsenal don't win the league.
Wow. £1,000 bet for charity. There you've heard it. Savva's done it. Richard, somebody, KJ, screenshot this so we can remember this guy's name, because we will be chasing him for £1,000. I won't escrow it. I won't hold on to it. I trust both of you because it's in front of 3,000 people live, and about 30,000 people will probably watch this, maybe more. So you won't be able to get away from it. The bet is locked in. £1,000 done. There we go. Terry, can you show the Premier League away table? Yeah, I think Arsenal are top of the Premier League away table. Bear with me a second. I know they're top. I'll check the points, but I know they're top. If they're not, I'll eat my hat. Yeah, Arsenal top 31 points, City on 24 points in second place. Man United third. Man United third on 20. We're third in the away table. Go on, United. This year says, I think Fulham gets at least a point versus Arsenal. Well, my point, what I was saying to Egal earlier, what they do in the Europa League is also going to, I think, play a factor in people's minds. I think they'll rotate quite heavily, 5, 6, 7 players even, because I think they're going to really go hard. Richard has agreed to the £1,000 bet. It's been done. There you see. Where was Leicester's experience when they won the league is what Garrett says.
Again, no, but we all classed that as a mad one because Leicester capitalised on everyone underperforming.
Yeah,
and they had Robert Huth. He had experience.
Even more importantly, Tom, they were being chased by Tottenham.
Come on, man, that's harsh. True.
Football is not maths. XG can be more, but the quality of chances City concede are probably higher. City's experience is the only argument that makes sense, is what Dragon says. Spurs fan talking about experience is everything. I mean, that's where, like, just because he's a Spurs fan doesn't mean he doesn't have football knowledge. I will say that. He didn't turn around and go, my club will do it, yours won't. That's when the Spurs thing becomes a reality. I feel like rivals are forgetting how big an impact Jesus had on this team before the World Cup. Him coming back is huge. Him coming back is going to be massive. I want the Spurs fan knighted. Appreciate the honesty. Also, David thinks he's clever wearing a Germany kit. They put 7 past Brazil.
That's complete coincidence. I wish I was that clever, but I'm not.
You are clever. I'm not going to say what you do for a job, but if you know what this guy does for a job and who he works for, this guy's got brains. I'm so glad I've always been nice to him. Do you know what I mean? Them tickets when you get to another level, them tickets. Mentality monsters. What does WTS stand for? You kids,
I actually don't know.
No one knows.
I actually don't know.
Gary Neville needs a 7-up. Thank you, Black. I meant in terms of size of clubs, not rivalry. No, I hear you on that. That's true. That's true. The issue with Arsenal haven't had a lack of quality. It's the lack of consistency. This year, they are more consistent, so they are doing much better, is what Adam believes. Thank you, Adam. That's a great super chat. I wouldn't mind my countryman, El Neni, winning a medal, is what Omar says. I mean, I want Arsenal to win to stop a 3-peat. I'm very open about it. We've got 2 comeback wins sandwiched around a 1-0 and 4-0, and all of a sudden our defense isn't good enough. 2 clean sheets in 4 on the back of a blip. It's crazy. We just can't win. That's why I agree with you. And when I saw that Gary Neville saying that you shouldn't over-celebrate, I was like, bruv, I saw what you did. Like, I've seen his celebrations in. I've seen him. I remember when I've seen him United win dead games in the last minute, like dead as in no real consequence on the league or positions, and seen him run down to away fans and celebrate with his shirt. Like, Gary Neville's crazy. We could not play like we have recently against better teams, or we will not win the league. Zinni gets got at too much. In fairness, yeah, you concede like you did against Villa and City and Bournemouth against the Liverpools, the Chelseas, the Cities, then you're right there. Like, you can't do that in those games. You're right. How did Man City's bench help them against who's NF? Nottingham Forest. True. Yeah, they're terrible in that game, finishing wise. The Invincibles made 9 comebacks, 6 wins and 3 draws, is what TBG says. True. It's as if the Pool fans want us to say City are good. We have no chance. Every team has to do it for the first time. We can't be this. Why can't it be Arsenal this time?
It's not. It's no discredit to Arsenal. As I just said, I think you need to build that bench a little bit more before you can go head to head with City to the final day. Arteta has done an amazing job. Like I said, I just think the last 3-4 games, that bench makes a big difference. That's all I'm saying.
XG. What's Chelsea's XG goals and conceded? I know.
A relevant point, to be honest. My club's bad. I know.
Trossard has more goals in the Prem than Mahrez this season, is what the Radio Boy 94 says. It's true. I think Trossard's been a good signing. Peter here says we face more chances because of how high our line is, but we tend to handle counterattacks more often than not. I also think that our counter press was a big part of our defense before the World Cup, and that was mainly because of Gabriel Jesus. Brentford are 1-0 up, by the way. In fairness, I don't care about football today. I feel like rivals are forgetting how big an impact Jesus had on this team, from O'Malley. Game at the Etihad was a W for City. No way Pep loses to Arsenal at home. More concern for the other games of both City and Arsenal. Big up to the Spurs fan named Savva, just so you all can learn that. And remember, we're still top of the league and playing for the last 3 months without our best player, who is just about to return, is what George G says.
Was the one I was waiting for? Someone put in the comments, because I said the City win at the Emirates was a big one, and they said, what do you mean? They had the least amount of possession they've ever had. Every time Man City have beaten us in the Premier League in the last 4 years, they've had less possession than us. Even when we had Fabinho and Henderson as a centre-back pair, and we outpossessed them by about 12%. Like, sometimes Pep Guardiola just concedes possession against the big teams because you don't expect them to.
Yeah. A lot of people are asking, by the way, for Savva to come back. That will definitely happen. No doubt. Made a big. I actually like Kurdish as well. A lot of big shout. I mean, Kurdish has been on other shows, but I think your first top 6, right? Very, very good indeed. Do you know what I love? I'll say this live. I hate always having to play devil's advocate. Sometimes I'm forced into challenging things with questions that I don't believe is a point, because too often people say that David and Tom always very, very good, but it's nice to have more people that do what David and Tom do and others. I do love that. So big up yourselves for doing that, gents. I want to thank all the viewers and all the super chatters. You've been amazing. But this is the last. It's not the last show because I have to talk with Lee Gunner about the 7, and then I'm gonna have to talk to Big Steve about the 7. I thought it was my last time talking about it. Jesus. Listen, everyone, hit the like button before you leave. Very important you do that. Turn the bell notifications on as well. Make sure you get that done. And if you want to listen to this back, of course, you can do it on YouTube, but you can also do it via Spotify or whatever podcast provider you use as well. I've posted the link in the description and in the live comment section as well. So go and follow our podcast as well. If you want to download it, listen to it on the train, whatever it may be. Gents, thank you very much. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And